Okay, here we are. We should be live. Start this one a little bit early. Wasn't due to start it for another 7 minutes or so, but I got kind of agitated, so here we go. And once again, if anybody can let me know if the audio is okay. I'm just after going through my settings and yeah, messing about with the volume of the microphone, so it should be a little bit louder than usual. If you guys can let me know while I pour a drink. Shout out to Triple B. Good to see you here, man. Base boxing basement. God bless you. Every time, man. Yep, you got in first. Awesome. Oh, I needed that. That was good. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, we had a really good weekend of boxing. Of course, first of all, we had Leigh Wood getting sparked by Mauricio Lara in a fight that he was ahead on all the cards. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was an excellent fight. And, that was the only fight this year so far that I've been at all interested in. And yeah, I'm glad that I paid attention to it because it was a genuine good fight. And it was a real fight, that's what a real fight looks like, that's what a real fight is supposed to look like, you know. We're supposed to see blood and guts, we're supposed to see a guy get knocked out. We're supposed to see both guys go in there and give it their all and lay it all on the line, and that's what we saw. We had of course, the Beterbiev fight a couple weeks back, and now we had this, very similar fight, in terms of the desire and the will to win that we saw on display. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, man. That was a years off to a good start, I guess, with boxing. And we also had the return of Felix Sturm in Germany, who got himself a good win. I just got done watching that this afternoon. I didn't watch it live. And yeah, I seen some people were bitching and moaning about the decision. And guys, you know the script at this point. I had no problem with the decision. I thought it was a perfectly fair, well scored fight as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, not a bad weekend at all as far as I'm concerned with boxing. It was pretty good if all things considered. Germany. Exactly, man. Yeah. It was the same. I had a quick look on Twitter. I don't use Twitter, but I had a quick look on it just to see what people were saying, and it was the same old shit. I mean, it's 2023, and there's still the narrative. You can't get a decision in Germany, and I've seen people saying that Sturm lost every round, and I'm like, you guys realize that punches that land on the gloves and the arms are not scoring punches, right? You do realize you have to actually land on the chin or the body or the scoring area. These guys, these casuals, they don't seem to understand that. They seem to think if you hit a guy in the guard a few times and he hits you with like a big counter left hook or something, you somehow won that exchange. I've no idea what these people are looking at, if truth be told. But yeah, I thought it was a perfectly fair decision. I've no idea what they were looking at, but what else is new? Shout out to Brandon Blanco, good by the way. Good to see you here, bro. Yeah, exactly, man. And look, I've been saying this for years, right? You have no idea the amount of poor decisions I've seen in British domestic level boxing, the amount of absolute robberies I've seen, and same in America. We get situations in America where the state commission will commission judges who are all from the same state as the home fighter and even the referee. We saw that with Andre Ward all through his career, getting California judges and California referees for his fights in California. But yeah, nobody ever had a problem with this. It's only when it happens in Eastern Europe. In fact, it doesn't even happen in Eastern Europe. That's the hilarious thing about it. In Eastern Europe, and particularly in a place like Germany where it's all well regulated, you have international officials for every fight appointed by either the actual commission or the sanctioning body. If there's a title on the line, it'll be the sanctioning body who hires the officials and appoints them to the fight. So it's just a complete BS narrative. And yeah, surprise, surprise, it turned out to be a perfectly fair fight, fairly officiated. One guy hitting the gloves, another guy actually landing scoring punches, and the judges actually having their eyes open and scoring it fairly, having the right guy winning. And yeah, casual boxing fans once again show they don't know what they're looking at, just clueless. Shout out to Reverse Leigh, good to see you here, man. Long time subscriber. Yeah, nobody knows what a clean punch is. Yeah, all these flipping casuals, and even a lot of these commentators don't even know what a clean punch is. They got no idea what they're looking at. Shout out to Louis. Good to see you here, bro. God bless listening in. Shout out to Mad Chad. Good to see you here, Chad. God bless you. What the heck is Adnan Katnik doing fighting at 44 still? Yeah, I think he needs the money. I think because he got arrested and jailed for tax evasion, it's yeah, playing on his mind, and he obviously can't make money elsewhere. He probably used a lot of his money that he'd saved up in boxing to pay off his bills or his debts and whatnot, and to bail himself out. So he probably needed to use all that money. So yeah, he's probably just skin. That's probably why he's fighting. Just needs the money in it. Shout out to Lee Talks Boxing. Good to see you here, brother. God bless you every time. Good evening, my friends. Yep, shout out to Valley. Good to see you here, man. God bless you too. Refs across all sports have been awful recently. Probably fixes, yeah, particularly in boxing, man. But again, they've always got plausible deniability, haven't they? You can. It's very, very difficult to openly prove fight fixing. It's an easy thing to see and to decipher, but it's a very difficult thing to prove because they obviously don't leave a paper trail. It's not like you leave a paper bag underneath their door, and that is sort of an agreement. It's more or less an agreement where they know who's supposed to win and whatnot, so they know to go along with it. Heck, even Felix Sturm got robbed against De La Hoya in 2004, yet casuals didn't say anything. Yeah, yeah, and the casuals didn't care about that, did they? Yeah, because it happened to an Eastern European against an American star, to set up a big fight. So if they don't care, why should we? And that's the thing, like, we don't even have the same standard because it doesn't happen there much. Okay, silly bugger. That's the Balkan blood of him, I guess. Yeah, yeah, man. Needs to pay his taxes, I guess. But yeah, that's why he's fighting. He's probably in a crap ton of debt after getting out of prison. NFL refs should be put in prison. The point shaving all the time high with legalized gambling in the US. Yeah, I seen a thing recently. I only caught a little bit of it, but it was like a basketball documentary where the referee was apparently gambling on the fights, and yeah, he was actually working the fight. Sorry, the games where he was gambling. Which, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a conflict of interest there, isn't it? I made a mistake. Yeah, exactly. They can just say, "Look, we're all human. We all make mistakes. It's going to happen." But the mistakes very often tend to favor the house fighter, don't they? Very often. Yeah, yeah. A lot of it is scripted. Absolutely, Chad. All sports. Hello, everyone. Good to see you here, man. God bless. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I think it's probably the same with other sports. The thing is, I don't really follow other sports much, but from what I have heard, football, basketball, there's a lot of gambling fraud. I mean, most of the money in these sports comes from gambling, and like they always say, the house always wins. So if the gambling fraternities, like the casinos and the bookies and whatnot, can have some sort of agreement with the fighters and the managers and the promoters and the networks and the marketers and whatnot to try and get people to bet a certain way and ensure that the house will make as much money as possible. It doesn't surprise me that there's so many fixed events and so much skullduggery and just so many of these conspiracies. It doesn't surprise me at all because there's that much money to be made, you know? What did you make of Lara versus Woodrow? Yeah, great fight, man. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The way that I saw it, I was giving Wood most of the rounds, and I felt that on the outside, his jab to the body, his long range boxing was really good. But the problem is, Lara was mentally in control. And what I mean by that is it was his kind of fight. You see, in the first round, even though I thought Lee Wood probably won the round, Lara was able to get inside. There was a clash of heads, and he landed a couple of big hooks and a couple of body shots. And I just felt that Lara was choosing his terms for when the fight was going to take place. Like he was backing up to the ropes, letting Lee Wood work, letting him box, because Lara had no intention whatsoever in going the distance. He was not in there to win a boxing match. He was looking for that big left hook. And he was throwing it from different trajectories. He would throw it from mid range. He would throw it from close range. He would throw it from long range. He would throw it as an uppercut, then turn it into a hook. And he was constantly reading how Lee Wood would react to it. So Lee Wood was boxing and was pretty much in control, at least on the scorecards and at least in terms of landed punches. But the thing is, Lara is the type of fighter where he doesn't mind getting hit. He doesn't mind taking the jab and missing wildly and looking a bit clumsy and ending up getting tied up and smothered for a few seconds. And, he doesn't mind if he takes a three punch combination to land one big left hook. He's that type of fighter. He's very confident in his chin. He's very confident in his power. He's very confident in his stamina. He's very confident in his ability to come back from, to come from behind and win a fight. He's just a guy who is mentally very, very astute in that ring, and mentally very tough. He's not an easy guy to break because a lot of fighters with the type of shots that Lee Wood was landing, a lot of fighters would have either just sold out completely and went for the knockout, or they would have gone into their shell. But Mauricio Lara stuck to the game plan and he kept throwing that left hook. And like I said, he kept throwing it from different angles, different trajectories. And he was constantly seeing how Lee Wood would react. And I think Lee Wood kind of made a mistake in the sense that he thought he had the left hook timed because some points in that fight, like Lara was missing wide with the left hook and throwing himself off balance and falling short with it. And even on the inside, he landed, but he wasn't at a particular position to do any serious damage. And there were times where he landed it, and Lee Wood thought, you know what, I've got my right hand up, I can catch it, and it's not going to do much damage. I'm doing my damage with a long range boxing. And I think that Lara, he kind of suckered Lee Wood in, if you know what I mean, to trading punches with him. And you'll notice in that moment where he was able to land that perfect left hook, Lee Wood was sort of telegraphing his own left hook and was about to throw it himself. But Lara threw his quicker, he threw his shorter, and he was able to get to the target first and with full power. And it was just a perfectly well placed punch. I thought that it was a really good performance from Lara, if I'm being honest. Like, technically, he's a lot better than I thought he was. Like, he's still very, very flawed and he's still very, very beatable, but he's so persistent and he's so good at reading the trajectory of his opponent's punches and getting to the target first. We saw that against Warrington in the first fight, and Warrington made the same mistake of trading with him. And yeah, Lara's a guy who is going to be beatable, but he's going to be difficult to beat, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed the fight, man. And I think that I would like to see a rematch because I think Lee Wood could beat Lara. I genuinely do, but he's going to have to be careful because the guy's dangerous, man. He really is. He really is. Franz Botha was on the Felix Sturm yeah, he was. Franz Botha had a exhibition fight, I think. I think it got either announced a draw or the other guy got announced the winner or something. But yeah, I think it was an exhibition card or an exhibition fight. What do you think pays their wage? Exactly, exactly. They're in collaboration with the gambling fraternities to make money, because it's kind of like they say, make the maximum profit for the lowest risk. That's just how it is. Absolutely, Chad. Absolutely, casinos are adding on, and they're involved in it. They really are. Based Felix Sturm, yeah. Germany, based Germany. Where was I? Barcelona FC got exposed recently for paying a ref over $1 million. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder what they would be paying the ref that much money for. Hmm. It's a mystery. Can anyone else guess? Can anyone else guess what you'd spend that much money on a referee for? Good point about Lara being mentally in control. Yeah, he was. He was. It was his kind of fight. Like I said, Lara made it his kind of fight and didn't lose heart. Whereas Leigh Wood was agitated, man. He was trying to box at times. He was trying to brawl at times, and Lara just, he was suckering. He was suckering Leigh Wood in to trade hooks, and when he did, it was over. You don't trade hooks with a hooker, as some people like to say. God bless your old dog. Good to see you here, man. God bless you. These boxing casuals are like these pro-Ukraine shows who don't say anything about Assange. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Fucking idiots. So I see you on Delboy and G-Man streaming. Yeah, yeah, he gets your old dad's been here quite a while. He used to be AA boxing and blunts. He's from my neck of the woods too. Good guy. God bless him. Wood did well, but I think the outcome was inevitable. I had Wood winning, but I think it's reaching to say Wood was in control. Yeah. Well, when I say he's in control, I mean he was in control on the scorecards, but because he was up on the scorecards. But Lara was in control mentally, as I mentioned earlier. It was Lara's kind of fight. Lara was constantly throwing that left hook from different trajectories, and he was constantly setting Leigh Wood up. So even though Leigh Wood was landing more punches and had the better long range boxing and the better defense, it was only going to take one mistake and one moment for Lara, who's the much tougher guy mentally and physically, and the much bigger puncher. It was only going to take one mistake and one moment for Lara to win the fight, and that was what happened. So yeah, Wood was in control on the scorecards. He was winning the rounds, but Lara was in control mentally the whole way through. He was the guy who was prepared for that sort of fight. It was his kind of fight, if you know what I mean. Yes, G-Man Boy and Boxing Squared on my channels. Yeah, yeah, good channels, man. All of them. All of them are good channels. Good to see you here, Gerson. Yeah, God bless every time. I think the rematch is too dangerous for Lara to take. Wood did great. If Wood was able to get past 12 rounds, he'll likely get the decision. Well, yeah. Yeah, the fight was in his hometown, so even if it was close, he would have been most likely to get the decision, no doubt. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the judges was Howard Foster. So yeah, that should give you an indication of who would have likely won. I'm a Warrington fan, but I want to see the Wood versus Lara rematch. Then the winner can fight Warrington. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think a Wood versus Lara rematch is interesting, but I still favour. Look, don't get me wrong. I think Wood can win it. Like if he can box on the back foot for 12 rounds, stick the jab to the body, and control the long range, he can win it. But the thing is, like I mentioned earlier, Lara is just a mentally tougher guy. Lara's the guy who's more prepared for a hard 12 rounds in the sense that he's going to be throwing that left hook the whole fight, and he's going to be constantly persistent with it. Like he's so persistent, and it's only going to take one moment. And again, both Warrington and Wood figured this out. It's only going to take one moment of them to have a lapse in concentration and drop the right hand or try and exchange hooks with a hooker, and Lara's going to land that left hook eventually. So for me, the rematch is difficult to call, but based on how brutal that knockout was, and based on how quickly Leigh Wood kind of unraveled and got drawn into a fight, I do favour Lara for the rematch. But Look, I'm not writing Lee Wood off. Lee Wood can win the rematch, but he's going to have to be on his game all 12 rounds, and I can't see him winning in exchanges. I can only see him winning by purely sticking to the game plan and working his long range boxing. That's like the only way I could see Lee Wood winning. But I'd love to see it. As far as Warrington, Lee Wood and Warrington would still be a big fight. I mean, they're talking about that fight taking place at the City Ground in Nottingham, or even in a stadium in Leeds. And look, that's still a big fight, even if there's no world title on the line. It's a big domestic fight that'll sell whether or not there's a title. And let's not forget that Bernardo Lopez, who beat Warrington, and Mauricio Lara, that's a big unification there. You know, they could have a big all Mexican unification with those two, and that's a great fight that I'd love to see. So again, look, there's a lot of fights that can be made. Warrington versus Lara 3, that's another, that's another possibility. All big fights. So this is a good division, man. Like the featherweight division is full of real fights. That's what real fights look like, when guys are always putting it on the line and always coming to win. And there's so many great fights that can be made, man. There really is. Shout out to Taylor. God bless you, man. Yep, the usual suspects all here, thankfully. Tyron Zoig had a good win last night. Yeah, I think I didn't see the Tyron Zoig fight, but I think he had a first round knockout. I forget who the guy was that he fought. I think it was some journeyman, but yeah, that was his first fight since 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and he's like 30 now. So yeah, I don't know where he's been all this time, but yeah, he's made a comeback. Sturm looking like a juicy Triple G. Shout out to Fight Film. Good to see you, man. God bless. Yeah, yeah. Sturm's looking like a flipping bodybuilder, isn't he? He doesn't look bad at all for 44. For 44 years old, he looks in great shape. And I thought he boxed pretty well. I thought he showed pretty good stamina too. To think Lara is only 24 is mental. I think he could base himself in the UK and probably make a good few quid in the next 13 months. Yeah. Yeah, Lara strikes me as he's one of them Mexican fighters who started very, very young. Because a lot of these Mexican guys, they turn professional as teenagers. And as a result of that, they kind of mature a lot quicker. And, we saw that with the likes of Margarito. He was only like 15, 16 when he turned pro. Same with Canelo. These guys are very young. And by their mid 20s, they're like seasoned, like 30-year-olds in this country. They've got that kind of experience. For me, what lost Leigh Wood the fight was just pouring with the jab. He was taller and should have occasionally put some weight behind the jab. Yeah, I agree. He kind of needs to take some lessons from Sturm and guys like that, how to throw a proper jab, how to actually turn it over and keep your opponent at long range behind it and actually do some damage with it, actually set other things up with it instead of just flicking it out there and hoping to score points. That's no good. You need to actually have an authoritative jab and a jab that's going to wear down your opponent, because that's the thing. Leigh Wood was throwing the jab to the body, and that was bothering Lara a little bit. But if he were to throw like a proper jab to the body, actually turn it over properly, kind of like the way Kovalev used to do in his prime, he could have really winded and really slowed down the offense from Lara. So that's something I think he needs to work on. Because Wood definitely has power. He just doesn't turn his punches over properly. I think Wood is the favourite in the rematch. Even so, I'm still picking Lara to get it done. Yeah, at this point in time, I favour Lara for the rematch, but I don't write Leigh Wood off, and that's what I like about it. It's a difficult fight to call if it happens. It's very, very interesting. Lara's is seasoned and battle tested. Yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. Like he's one of them guys who you can tell he's he's had a lot of like gym wars, if you know what I mean. Like that's another thing that's common with these Mexican fighters who start young. They kind of test their bottle early by sticking them in these really, really intense gym wars and sparring sessions. And you can tell Lara has mixed with the best. He comes from a really tough and sort of macho background, if you know what I mean. Like the guy's seriously tough and durable. I want to see someone knock that little street taco out Why are Russians the only ones that can destroy these Mexican fighters, but everyone else is having a hard time? I don't know, man. These Mexicans are pretty tough. You know, it takes some power to actually beat these guys because they're not intimidated by these pussy Brits, you know, like us. You know, it takes these Russians who can actually punch a bit to stop them. You know, no way the bookies will make Laura a bigger favorite. He was Oh no, yeah, the bookies will make Lara a bigger favorite. He was 2-1 on for last night. Yeah, Lara was the favorite, I believe. And yeah, he'd probably be a bigger favorite for the rematch. Also, I just found out that Josh Taylor sacked Ben Davison months ago and is with the guy who trains Liam Smith. Is this a good trainer for Taylor? Well, the guy McNally, I believe it is, who trains Liam Smith, he's done a very good job with Liam Smith, no doubt about that. And you know, Liam Smith is a good pressure fighter and a guy who I suppose there are some similarities to Josh Taylor. Like he's not exactly the same, but there are some similarities. So time will tell. You know, we haven't seen them work together yet. You know, he hasn't fought under him yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'll reserve judgment on that until I see them fight. Lara was 2-9 to win last night and 2-7 to win by KO. Rematch will be roughly same odds. Yeah, probably. If not slightly more favorite, you know. Boxer size Ben. Yeah, Ben Davison's getting a lot of he's getting clowned a lot online for the stoppage, but I personally thought it was a good stoppage. Because Lee Wood's been knocked out before and he's never shown a great chin. So I can't see him having recovered. I think he would have got brutally knocked out personally. And I mean I don't know that for certain, but I think he would have. I agree. It's likely the bookies will make Lara the favorite, though. I don't see them giving a huge edge. I suppose to an extent they might take into consideration that Lee Wood was winning the rounds, but I just think the bookies they know better than us to an extent. You know, they know that Lara after winning so brutally in that fashion, it's unlikely that they're gonna give Lee Wood more of a chance than they would have the first time. You know. Interestingly, Laura actually landed more punches in the fight according to the stats. Really? I'll need to look into that. Like, I actually thought watching it that Wood landed more, but I'll need to see. I haven't rewatched the fight since. Josh Taylor better blast Tio the phony Fimo out in 6 rounds. It upsets me how he went downhill as a fighter since pairing with Ben Davis. I tell you what, I'm gonna make a statement here right now. If Josh Taylor doesn't stop Tiafimo in the first 6 rounds, he's a complete hype job. Remember, I said that. Record that if you want. I wanted to see the third Warrington versus Lara fight since 2021. Has to be that next for me. Oh yeah, the third Lara one. Actually, that fight was a joke. The way it ended, it was just one of them unfortunate things. But I think if they were to have a third fight, it would probably be more entertaining. You know, most people weren't paying attention to Laura's body shots. Yeah, I saw some of Laura's body shots. Some of them were sickening, and Lee Wood actually landed some pretty good body shots too. But Laura seemed to be more effective with his body shots. You know, Lara was the only one landing combos, which was completely ignored. Yeah, yeah, there was some work on the inside from Lara, and occasionally he'd land like a quick jab or a quick uppercut, and there was a lot of work inside, like during the clinch. I noticed that the commentators really weren't picking up on because I think the commentators, Carl Froch and the other guy, they were definitely rooting for Lee Wood. They even admitted it. So maybe they were more excited about the work that Lee Wood was doing, and they were kind of not really picking up on everything Laura was doing. You know, it certainly does seem like that might have been that might have been a contributing factor to people thinking that Wood was doing better than he was. You know, yeah, Russia seems to have the antidote to these Mexicans now. I agree because it's because of the lack of power most Brits have. The Mexicans just don't respect it. I wonder why that is because I don't know, man. Some countries just seem to produce tougher guys, and some countries just seem to produce bigger punchers. Like fighters from Russia tend to punch properly, and they tend to mostly be big punchers. I don't know why that is. A lot of them do seem to just hit harder and turn their punches over better. Lara had a lot in the tank. He was gonna empty it. I'd want to see it go on, but I ain't in there. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And look, Ben Davison, he knows better. He knows Lee Wood. They've obviously trained together a while now, and he allowed the fight to continue when Lee Wood fought Michael Conlan, and that was it. That was in the first round when he looked even more badly hurt. But the thing is, Michael Conlan isn't a puncher, and Mauricio Lara is a massive puncher. So Ben Davison obviously realized, look, if I leave him in there and I don't get him out of there, Lara's just going to empty the tank. He's going to throw in big left hooks, and Leewood doesn't have the durability to deal with it. He was knocked out by Gavin McDonnell, and if Gavin McDonnell can stop him, there's absolutely no, there's no doubt that Lara is going to be bloody dangerous for him. So yeah, I've got no problem with a stoppage. Even my friend who, like I mentioned this on your comment section, my mate who was in the crowd, who was texting me during the fight, he was saying he had no problem with a stoppage because from where he was standing, you could just see um, flipping Leewood's legs were gone. Like even though he got up and even though he wanted to continue, his legs were like wet noodles, and one clean punch would have been all it took to put him down again. So yeah, I think it was a fair stoppage personally, and I think Ben Davison may have actually saved he may have actually saved Lee Wood's career, but that's just how I see it. So yeah, no problem with the stoppage from me. I had a look at Bet365 after round 6, and Lee Wood was somehow 120 yeah, 120 to win with Lara 433. I wish I jumped on those odds at that moment. I still would have favored him. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you would have found some good odds somewhere on the challenger, especially since he was fighting the other guy's backyard. These Mexicans are only tough compared to the weak men of today, since they grew up in a very hot environment. But I guess the Russian wrestle bears. Yeah, the Russians wrestle bears. They're the toughest. Americans are pathetic. Yeah, I suppose if you've been brought up in like a more hostile and less mollycoddled environment where everybody's got to make their own way. You're going to learn how to fight. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. You're going to get killed if you can't fight. Tommy or Jake. No idea. I've never actually watched a single one of them fight. Like not a full fight anyway. Totally agree, Nordic. Also, I will go as far as to say if Taylor doesn't stop Tio before the 7th, I'll place the fight in the suspect category. Absolutely. Um, Sandor Martin was able to drop Tiafimo with one of the most weak, speculative right hooks I've ever seen. Tio has no chin. He's a bum, and he should get knocked out early. And if Taylor doesn't stop him early, I'll be very disappointed. Put it that way. Wood was done. His legs were still wobbly. Sorry, where was I? His legs were still wobbly when he got up. Ben did a good stop. On the flip side, Tunde did an awful stoppage. I didn't see the Tunde fight. Like I didn't watch the undercard. I only saw little bits of it, and yeah, I just watched the main event. Who was Tunde training on the undercard? Oh, are you on about? Sorry, are you on about the? Yeah, my bad. You're on about the Yard fight, aren't you? The Yard Baturbia fight. No, I thought that was a good stoppage too because Yard was completely gassed. He had nothing left. He could barely hold his hands up, and he was about to get brutally knocked out. So yeah, I personally thought that was a good stoppage. Plus, I think Yard actually quit. I think I think he wanted out of there, and he was kind of subliminally trying to convince Tunde to stop it. So yeah, I disagree there. I think that what do you call it? What do you call it? I think Baturbia was going to knock him out. So I think that was a good stoppage. I feel like Mexicans are mentally weak when fighting boxers who are good at hitting without getting hit, like Dimitri Bivol, who has dominated many of them. Well, I can see it being a situation where if you're a brawler and you're a bit of a slugger and you're used to guys like coming forward and standing toe to toe with you, then you get a guy who's on the back foot, who's behind a high guard, and who's just outboxing you, and who won't buy your feints and won't stand in front of you and give you anything and give you any targets. That'll be very frustrating for anybody. And yeah, I think it's the same for a lot of Mexicans. Like they kind of fall apart when they get somebody who's so disciplined, who can just stick to the long range boxing and not give him any targets, you know? So yeah, I agree there. Is Fury ducking Usyk? No, no, that fight will happen. I think Fury's got nowhere else to go. Well, what's he gonna do? Fight Joe Joyce? Really? No, he's gonna fight Usyk. I mean, he just wants to make sure he's the A side and he gets more money. You know, I have a feeling Taylor will look average in the TO fight. You never know, but he's fighting TO, so he better not. He better look he better look spectacular, or I won't be impressed. You know, even if he is weight drained, you know. I suppose if he's weight drained, I can't be too harsh on him. You know, I'm just I've just got high standards these days. You know. What do you think of Gay new boyfriend Ben Heine? And why do the masses not realize Gay is 100% batty? I don't know, man. I think Gay has got them big muscles. You know, he's like a big black Duke Nukem, and he's an alpha male, and he's just I don't know, the girls like him, don't they? He's big, he's handsome, he's got a big Corey according to Fury. Not that I would know, and I think they don't really want to believe that he's a big batty man. So yeah, it's just cognitive dissonance. They want to believe he's an alpha male and not a batty man. You know. Jake Paul is calling out Carl Froch. He's going to get covered. Oh man, please make that fight. Please make Jake Paul versus Carl Froch. Man. Oh, that'd be incredible. That would be incredible. Gay J. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yard wanted out and he was shook. I believe Western countries like UK and US are so badly structured with convenience and instant gratification like porn, video games, and social media that men lack the desire to reach full potential. I agree. I couldn't say it any better myself. We've got too much available to us, and yeah, we're too soft, we're too weak, and my generation in particular is a soft, weak generation. And sometimes I look at myself and I feel quite pathetic. I should be a lot stronger. I should be a lot more accomplished than I am. And I think it's similar with most people in my generation. Is Fury pretending to avoid Usyk to make himself the villain of the fight and potentially garner more interest and attention to the fight? That could be one reason for it. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. I definitely think so. Yeah, because again, it's probably going to be his last fight, and he wants to make the most money possible. Wants all the A side privileges, and he wants to make sure that he makes it as big a deal as possible. Yeah, Yard wanted out of there, no doubt. Just out of gas, and he had nothing left. AJ is not Duke Nukem, he's Duke Dindu. Yeah, Duke Dindu. Um, okay, Roy. To Roy here, stop insulting Triple B. Insulting Triple B is banned on my channel. You should start reading some badass books to get you motivated to leveling up as a man and even start boxing again. Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's one thing I need to start doing without a doubt is going back to the gym, man. I'm actually itching to do it. I've been working out a little bit myself, but I'm itching to actually go back and hit the bag and spar. Because it's something I've not done for a while. Only issue is I can't spar at the minute because I've got a problem with my jaw. And yeah, let me not even get started. That it's been pissing me off the past few days. but basically because I had two teeth extractions at the back of my flipping jaw due to years of fucking getting punched in the face and shit and fighting and whatnot. I had chipped tooth and I had to get two of them extracted. And yeah, it's kind of misplaced my jaw a little bit, and I get a lot of pain, and I can't really close my mouth properly. So tomorrow, I'm actually planning to book an appointment at the dentist and see if I can get implants because it's starting to really do my head in. So yeah, once that's sorted, I think I will get into sparring again because I really do want to spar. It's been a long time since I sparred. All you have to do is beat a Mexican brawler to be good on the outside. Ha- have respectable power and a good chin. Taylor versus Ramirez, for example. Yeah, Taylor versus Ramirez. I watched that fight again. That was actually a lot more one-sided than I remember. Like Ramirez barely had any success in that fight at all. I think 10 rounds to two for Taylor. I had it with two knockdowns, which is more one-sided than I initially thought. You know. So yeah, that was actually probably Taylor's best performance from a technical point of view. It was a great performance that night. And to go from that to the Catterall fight is is quite shocking actually, you know, to see the contrast. But it is what it is. AJ wants to hump Tommy Fury. No, thank you. I hope not. What do you think about Evander Holyfield's boxing style? Holyfield was a great fighter, but he was very, very dirty. You know, I watched the trilogy against John Ruiz. I was planning to make a video about it, but I kind of forgot about it. And yeah, Holyfield just he's a spoiler. You know, he had a lot of headbutts and stuff like that, and you know, forearms, elbows on the inside, lots of clinching and leaning, and you know, he was a dirty fighter and frustrating to watch, but he was very, very effective, particularly when he was on his game. You know, he was skilled. You know, he had some of those same problems with Andre Ward and Hopkins, though, about his illegal tactics, but he was a very skilled fighter who genuinely had a lot of talent and was a great athlete. Extremely tough too. There hasn't been much news since your last stream, unless you want to talk about Garcia versus Tank. Well, depends if Tank ends up in prison or not, you know. Hopefully he does because he deserves it. He's a complete degenerate, that guy, and a complete sociopath. But I think Garcia can beat him if it's a real fight, you know. Did you ever watch Franco versus Ioka 1? No, I didn't watch it. Junta Nakatani versus Ioka went to purse bid. Then Ioka decided to drop the belt and fight Franco instead. So would you have rather seen Junta Nakatani fight Ioka? Would you have preferred that fight then? Interesting. Wolves of Croton, Solitary Fitness by Charles Bronson, and Relentless are three great books to check out. Relentless is great audiobook and really motivated me to be where I am today. Do you know what? I'll check all them out. I'll take a note of them and I'll look them up. I'll see if I can find them. I actually got into reading again recently. Like I've been reading the King James Bible quite a bit. I'll extract some teeth with a right hook. Yeah, yeah. I lost flipping two of my teeth, like I say, due to just getting punched and you know, had to end up getting them surgically removed, and it's annoying me. I'm in pain. You know, my actual jaw on my right side of my face is constantly in pain when I try to close my mouth or eat anything. You know, if I leave it any longer, I won't even be able to talk. You know, if I leave it too much longer, anyway. Warrington or Lara in the third fight. Look, Warrington can win it, but I haven't been impressed by Warrington in a long time, and I think the way he's been fighting, where he's been overly aggressive and quite foolish, can see Lara knocking him out again. So yeah, even though I favored Warrington in the first two fights, I favor Lara in the third fight if it happens anytime soon. You know, but we'll see if it happens. I think Americans need to be more like Joe Smith Jr. That's a hardworking man who doesn't seem bound by comfort, and it shows in all his fights. Only the Russians can beat him. Yeah, yeah. That was quite a shock the way that Beterbiev took him out so early, especially in his home city and whatnot. And it's like that was weird because it was as if he was trying to outmacho Beterbiev, and I'm like, Beterbiev's so much a bigger puncher. Why would you stand toe to toe with him and slug like that? It was very silly, you know. Pain sucks. Can relate. Yeah, man. I can't stand like just the discomfort. You know, I wouldn't even be bothered about like I don't really care about the aesthetics of it. It's just that I can't close my mouth without being in pain, you know? And it just it's constantly on my mind and it bugs me. So yeah, I wanna sort it. Plant or Benavides? I'm gonna go Benavides, but I think he's gonna struggle because I think Plant's a bit awkward and a bit athletic, but Benavides has the better stamina and he's the bigger puncher. So I'll go with Benavides by a close decision. I could see a late stoppage, but I think most likely a close decision. Plant seems shook. Yeah, he does a little bit, but that might actually help him, you know, because he might be more alert, especially if keeps one up at night. Yeah, being in pain and having to stay up at night because it's just constantly bugging you is really bad. Like, see when I went to the dentist a couple years ago and I got a filling, but the filling that she it was some stupid woman dentist, and the filling that she gave me went right onto my flipping like my flipping gum, and it was right onto a nerve. And I'm talking for weeks and weeks. I was just in constant pain. I couldn't sleep, and it even got so bad. I literally just had a glass of whiskey and everything to try and to try and get to sleep and to try and get rid of the pain because the painkillers weren't working anymore. So I tried whiskey, and I don't even like whiskey. So yeah, it was mate. It's just dental pain is one of the worst things to have to deal with. It's just so horrible, you know. But again, everything happens for a reason, and God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. So yeah, there's a reason for it. And to be fair, it's self-inflicted. You know, I made poor decisions in the past, and I'm paying the price for them. You know, you just got to deal with it, and yep, plant. Yeah, remember when Conlon dropped Wood and Wood was saved by the bell? Conlon pieced Wood up badly in the next round. Only a lack of power kept Wood in it. Wood wasn't going to last long in that fight. Yeah, if Conlon had anywhere near the kind of power that Mauricio Lara had, he would have taken Leigh Wood out in that second round, in my opinion. And I think Ben Davidson understood that. You know, he understood that Conlon wasn't that big a puncher and that Lara was a very big puncher. You know, yeah, I would have, but both fight are good. I don't think Ioka ducked him. I'm guessing Ioka thinks he has unfinished business. Plus, he'll probably make more versus Franco. Yeah, it's probably a bigger fight, isn't it? So yeah, I got no problem with either. I'd still favour Warrington as long as he fights like he did in the second Lara fight. Yeah, that's the thing. Will he fight like that? I don't know, man. Because he's leaving himself open. He's getting too involved these days. You know. Shout out to Triple J Boxing. Good to see you here, bro. Love your channel, Nordic. Just boxed myself and lost. Did you watch Neary fight? No, I never saw the Neary fight. What's your thoughts on it? Two crackers on the same night. God bless. Yeah, yeah. I didn't see the Neary fight, but yeah, I saw the Sturm fight and I saw the Conlon fight, and I thoroughly enjoyed both. But yeah, I'll need to check that one out. Yeah. So you had a fight, did you, just recently? Interesting. That's good to hear, man. God bless you. Keep it up. Do you rate Michael McKinson? I think his punching technique's quite poor, but you know he's still learning, isn't he? So he could improve. Blessed are those that readeth, is what the Bible says, or that readeth. Sorry, is what the Bible says. I've gone 8 months reading books and not playing video games or watching TV, and it's made me cognitively better and a better thinker. Yeah, definitely books do make you think more, and you take in information a lot better because it's a lot less of a passive experience than watching a film or something is. So that's one thing that I'm trying to start doing more often is read. And like I say, I've been reading the King James Bible. I've been like taking it to work sometimes, and like reading it on the bus or reading it on my lunch break and whatnot. And I want to try and start doing it every day, getting into it more often, you know. Yo, buzzed to catch my boy Nordic live. How have you been, bro? Good to see you here, Jimmy. Hate your inactivity. Good to see you back. Yeah, man. I'm feeling good. Feeling good. Buzzing actually. You know, there were some good fights last night. I really enjoyed them. You know, just tuned into your podcast. God bless. Yeah, God bless you too, man. God bless you. Feather fisted. Yeah, yeah. McKinson is feather fisted. I think he needs to learn to turn his punches over, or he's not going to go far. You know. I believe Joe Smith is not is the best American boxer today. Not only does he deliver epic beatdowns, but he does it without the corruption and privilege of all these Dindu boxers have. He fights the best too. Yeah, yeah. Joe Smith's like a working class guy who boxes because it's you know, a way to kind of change his life. You know, he's not one of these guys who looks as if he was born into boxing and was given all the privilege. You know, he's a guy who is a hard working guy. He's tough. He's strong. He's got a good work ethic. He's always in shape. He's motivated. He's aggressive. He's assertive, and he's just what's not to like about Joe Smith. He's a great fighter, you know, and I agree. He probably is the best American fighter right now. Lara is a beast. Good to see him finally become a champion because he's a pure slugger and a puncher. So he'll take a few losses. For a Mexican, Lara has almost no fans. Yeah, yeah. For some reason, a lot of the sort of hardcore Mexicans that follow the likes of Canelo and Estrada and guys like that, for some reason they haven't caught on to Lara. It's probably because his biggest successes have been in the UK. So maybe if he were to have some fights in Mexico or in America and fight some big names there, it would be interesting. So yeah, that'll probably give him more fans because the Mexicans really do support their own. They do get behind their guys and support them fully. Why is O'Colly copying Tyson by going with Gronk? Probably so he can learn to actually fight instead of flipping lean and molest his opponents. You know. Yeah, I'm not a fan of O'Colly. I think he should just retire. It's the last thing we need is another flipping just grabbing lean fighter in boxing. You know. Top three American fighters. That's a good one. Let me think. You'd have to put Joe Smith up there as one of them. Maybe Errol Spence and maybe Crawford. Maybe that'll probably be the top three American fighters now. Thoughts on Callum Smith versus Paul Stepien? I don't know much about Paul Stepien. I don't think I've ever watched him, so I'll need to. But Callum Smith's done really well since the Canelo fight. You know, I think moving up to light heavyweight has done him a world of good, you know, because he's not flipping starving himself anymore. He's actually at a weight that suits him. Xbox 360 was the best console era. That was a blessing. The backwards compatibility and having a full game without BS is almost gold dust at this point. Modern gaming is so soulless. I agree. Look, modern gaming is just so monetized. It's so digital to the point where it just feels completely alien to me. Like I feel out of my depth with modern gaming. Like I prefer the days when you could go to the shop, buy a game, plug it in and play it, and get the full game on release day at full price. You know, none of this episodic nonsense. None of this. You buy the game now and it doesn't work and it needs patched and it needs updated, and you got to buy 10,000 DLCs that cost more than the game itself, and you got to buy all the microtransactions and the extra cosmetics and all that. And just give me the game, you know. Let me buy the game and play it. It's that simple. That's the era that I come from. But these young whippersnappers, you know, these kids nowadays with their flipping Call of Duties and their Fortnites and whatnot, they don't understand what real gaming is, you know. You know, you're not a true gamer and unless you've played like several awesome 360 games or 90s platformers. Then you'll understand what real gaming is, you know. Is what it is, man. All right, man. Good to see you here, Christopher Roman. God bless. I just watched Fight Film's video on the Laura Wood fight. I checked to see if you had uploaded a video on the fight, but I'm glad to see you're live. First live stream from yours that I'm tuning into. Yeah, good to see you here, man. Hope to see you here for more of them. But yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed the fight. I thought Lara was mentally in control the whole way, but Leigh Wood was boxing well. He made the mistake of getting caught exchanging hooks with a hooker. Very very big mistake there. Where was I? Thoughts on Gary Cully's recent fight? Who should he fight next? I didn't actually watch the Gary Cully fight. I wasn't interested in the undercard at all. It was only the main event I was interested in. But from what I heard of Gary Cully, he's like massive for the weight, big puncher, tough guy. And yeah, we'll see where he goes from here. Still early to say. Felix Sturm still boxing is crazy. Neary was a great fight to check out. Would love to know your thoughts on who's number one at featherweight. How would Vargas, Lara, Josh, Wood, Dogbo, Conlon, Magsayo do in a tournament? I would, at this point in time, just as things stand right now, I'd favour Lara because he has the most momentum at the minute. But I think Josh Warrington is the best fighter out of them all, skill wise and in terms of athletic ability. So if Warrington could get back to his best, I think he would win. But right now, I think I'd favour Lara for the win, depending on the lineup. It would have to be fights that suit him. Are you familiar with British badasses like the prisoner Charles Bronson and Lenny McLean? Right? Yeah, yeah, I am. Those were the baddest Brits ever, and it's all thanks to their upbringing and hard life. Do you know? Interestingly, Lenny McLean. I don't know if you know this. Lenny McLean was Frank Warren's cousin. That they were related, I think, and I think it was him who got Frank Warren into boxing because Frank Warren, he sort of descends from that world, the old school like bare knuckle and unlicensed boxing with gangsters, people like the Craze were involved in it and whatnot. And yeah, Lenny McLean was a known hard man, and so was Charles Bronson. But yeah, Lenny McLean, like he wasn't like a world class fighter or anything like that, but he was a tough guy. Like he was seriously hard and a decent like street fighter. And I think he was an enforcer for the mob as well. So yeah, it's interesting that because Frank Warren, obviously biggest promoter in the UK for many years, and that's kind of his background was with like London gangsters. And yeah, I think his cousin was. I think he's Lenny McLean's cousin. Oh, you're from Scotland? I am, yeah. I'm from Glasgow, Scotland, but I moved away when I was very young, and I grew up in Nottingham, England. But yeah, I live in Glasgow, Scotland now. I moved back to my homeland. Good to see you here, Iron Fist. God bless. O'Colly is a bum weight bully. Yeah, O'Colly's is a joke. He's a bum, and O'Colly's a cheater. What's your thoughts on Canelo versus Ryder being Mexico in a big stadium? In a real fight, Ryder beats Canelo pretty easily, probably on points, but it's probably a fixed fight. So Ryder will probably go down in like rounds 9 to 11, from a big swinging, looping hook or something. Yeah, that's how I see it. Prograis and Plant have to be up there. Oh yeah, definitely. I forgot about Prograis. Plant, I'd put him in like the lower category there, but Prograis I definitely put up there. He's probably more skilled than all of them, but he doesn't have the resume to match them. I haven't played games since FIFA card for the PS3. Yeah, yeah, they were real popular back in the day, man. To be fair, they're still quite popular, but I lost interest in FIFA after 2003. I lost interest in COD after like 2009. Have you seen Provodnikov versus Bradley? What do you think about that fight back then? That's a great fight, man. Great fight. That was one of my favorite fights of 2013. Or was it? Sorry, 2012. I think that fight was. I remember it. Yeah. That was one of them fights that was so difficult to score too because Bradley was landing more shots, but Provodnikov was landing such heavier shots, and he hurt Bradley badly on several occasions, and even dropped him. And Bradley was never the same after that fight. Like that fight, it messed Bradley up. He was slurring his speech afterwards, and yeah, I don't think he was ever the same. It was kind of beginning of the end for Bradley's career. Be back in a moment. Just need to go take a piss. Okay, where was I? Let me see. Canelo versus Callum was so fixed. Smith wasn't using his jab, was backing up in straight lines and shelling up, letting Canelo hit him. Yeah, Canelo's like half his size, and Callum was like playing patty cake with him. It was ridiculous, man. I hope gaming gets worse so men stop wasting their lives on it. Video games have also become a gateway drug to porn because of all the provocative content. Yeah, I that's another thing I've noticed. I hate that games as well as movies have been so sexualized. Like I don't want to see that type of thing when I'm playing a game. You know, I like that's why I like a lot of old school like 90s platformers because they're just a lot more fun to me, you know, and a lot more wholesome. I really enjoy them, you know. What you think of Inoue versus Fulton? Good fight, man. Good fight. Inoue moving up to his fourth division and taking on an undefeated and unified champion in Fulton. And in his first fight at the weight, Inoue is about legacy. Yeah, Inoue is doing what very, very few fighters are doing. You know, I think the only guys are like Lomachenko and Usyk. You know, at the moment are doing what Inoue is doing. You know, the guy just wants all the smoke. You know, he wants all the titles. If he moves up to a division, he wants the number one guy. If the number one guy won't fight him, he wants the number two guy. You know, he's that type of fighter to me. And Fulton is a guy who he doesn't have a lot of power, but he's got good boxing skills and he's probably a decent spoiler. But I can't see him beating Inoue, especially not if it's in Japan. If it's in Japan, I think Inoue is going to walk him down, either stop him late or win by a wide decision. And I think we'll see a better Inoue than what we saw at the lower division, you know, because I think he's filling out more now and he's punching harder. And he's also shown good stamina. You know, he can go 12 rounds if need be. And he's also shown he's got a great chin. So I think he's becoming the full package now. I'm very impressed by Inoue. Interesting your thoughts on Warrington. I agree he's the best. At his best, he's a handful for anyone who is Britain's best ever. I always loved Selby and loved your video on him. God bless. Yeah, man. I really enjoyed making that Selby video. I liked going back and looking at his career because he had a pretty interesting career that kind of went under the radar a bit, you know. And he was a bit underrated. Like he wasn't an elite fighter, but he was a world class fighter, you know. Britain's best ever, I'd say probably Joe Calzaghe. I think he's probably Britain's best ever fighter. Do you watch any kickboxing or MMA? Not anymore. Not for a long time. You know, and I did used to watch some of the big fights, but I've got so little time on my hands these days that Boxing's the only sport I really follow, you know? You like watching Fight Scout, don't you? He sounds a oh, yeah, the Fight Scout? Yeah, I like the Fight Scout. I know what you mean. A Mayweather jab. He threw a Mayweather jab. Yeah, he's a good channel though. I like Fight Scout. He's quite based too. He watches my channel too. God bless him. That movie about Bronson's life with Tom Hardy was hilarious. Have you seen? No, no, I didn't watch it. What's the name of that movie again? I know Tom Hardy was in the Craze movie, which I thought was terrible. I didn't like that movie at all. You know, Ronnie Pickering too, one of the hardest men of all time. Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of like old school hard men in the UK in them days. You know, what's crazy about Charlie Bronson is that he grew up in a wealthy family and had a good upbringing, but once his mother accidentally struck his nose, he had an itch for violence and fighting. Yeah, kind of like a sadomasochist, isn't it? Who liked getting hit in the face. I was kind of like that back in the day, you know, and it didn't do me any good. I can tell you that. Tuna or beans in a jacket potato? Tuna, without a doubt. I like beans too, but tuna is like my go-to thing to have with jacket potato. Beautiful, man. It's really nice. Who would have won in a fight between Liam McLean versus Charlie Bronson? Do you mean Lenny McLean? I'd probably go Lenny McLean. A bit more proven, I think. Just a bit tougher, you know. Canelo versus AJ. Canelo by dive. That's how I see it. Yeah, I did take a good leak. I also took a number two. It was all right actually. Came out smoothly. Bradley's wife wanted him to retire after the fight. Yeah, yeah, he probably should have because that was a near career-ending beating. That was, but you know there was still unfinished business with Pacquiao. You know, yeah, Provonikov was one of them guys who will like say a prayer for you and light a candle before the fight because he was genuinely worried that he would do some permanent damage. You know, a real good guy, a Christian too. God bless him. Canelo versus Beevil 2 at 168 is being finalized for September. Will Beevil be as fast or strong at 168, and can Canelo improve? If the rematch happens, if it's not fixed, it's even at 168, it's the exact same outcome. I don't see Beevil being that much different because he's not that big a 175 pounder anyway. But it's a Canelo fight, and since they're putting up a lot of money for it, they might be paying Beevil enough this time to read the script, if you know what I mean. Interesting to read old documentaries, books pre 1945. Mindset beliefs were very different back then in many professions. Yeah, yeah. The world has gone nuts since then, man. You know. For example, from what I've read, doctors back then believed diets that were meat based to be the most optimal. Yeah, because you get the most protein. But you know nowadays the elite and the government want us eating less meat. You know, while they eat children, and while they eat their Aberdeen Angus steak, they want us eating mealworms and bugs. You know, as much as I love big booty women, I'm tired of it being shoved in my face on Instagram and YouTube. I hadn't used Instagram in 3 months because of it. Yeah, I've never had Instagram, so I wouldn't bother with it. But yeah, nothing wrong with some big booty women, I guess. But yeah, I don't want to see it all over the place. You know. I reside where Fernando Rickson, Glasgow Rangers, grew up in the Netherlands. Oh, really? Nice, interesting. You rate Virgil Ortiz? Oh, yeah, yeah, I do rate Virgil Ortiz. He's very good, very talented, big puncher, fast, seems to have a lot of ambition. Yeah, I'm very interested to see where he goes in his career. Just to briefly touch upon Bradley's strategy versus Ruslan, I feel like he knew the best thing would be to outbox him, but he wanted to use Mexican style, so the fans could come back to his side after Pac won. Yeah, because Bradley got a lot of criticism for that fight, and rightfully so, because he got a gift decision, and it was a ridiculous gift decision. And I think he wanted to sort of endear himself to fans, and he certainly did with that fight. You know, he showed his balls, he showed his metal, showed his heart, showed his chin, showed his courage. It was a great fight. Early thoughts on Lomachenko versus Haney. It's for undisputed at 135. Loma is the better boxer, but age, inactivity, and injuries catching up to him. Haney has the youth, size, momentum, and politics. Yeah, I think if Haney is allowed to headbutt and elbow and hold and things like that, it'll make it competitive. But if Loma is anywhere near what he was in his prime, he should get inside, piece him up to the body, figure out the stance and the angles pretty quickly, and he should outbox and batter Haney, and Loma should win by a wide decision. But like you say, the size, momentum, youth, politics, and the inactivity and the injuries of Loma are all things that have to be taken into consideration. So it's a tough fight to call. I'd need to think about it more, But prime versus prime, I pick Lomachenko easily. My favorite TV shows right now, I don't actually watch any TV shows right now. So yes, I don't know. I lost interest in TV long time ago. The movie's called Bronson, and it stars Tom Hardy. You say I might check that out. Actually, I'm not a fan of Tom Hardy, but I might check that out. What boxing channels do you rate? Quite a lot. There's Triple B, Del Boy, Precise, uh, um, G Man. There's a lot of guys on here. Like, off the top of my head, those are the ones that come to mind. But there's a lot of channels I watch still. Jake Paul versus Old Frotch. Who you got? Frotch by knockout within the first minute of the first round. Big right hand over the top. Does Bellew and Hearn have a secret relationship? I don't know, man. You'd have to go and ask them. Best prospect in boxing. Best prospect right now. I suppose guys like Ortiz and that are contenders, aren't they? So I don't know, man. Best prospect right now. Oh, man, I need to get back to you on that because I've not really been paying much attention to prospects. What other badass legends do you know of? Like Bronson and Lenny. I love learning about these legends that people don't talk about because they're too busy being brainwashed by Mike Tyson propaganda. Well, of course, there's Rocky Marciano, who's the obvious one. I watched Rocky Marciano documentary the other day actually, and yeah, because I'm still wanting to make a video about him, and I think Marciano was really underrated. Very very underrated fighter, like great for that era. Way better than Joe Louis, way better than Muhammad Ali. I think he was better than both of them. And better than that bum Jack Johnson who was complete shit. He's way better than him. This might sound fucked up, but the relief of taking a massive shite after holding it in is sometimes better than sex. Oh yeah, no doubt. Controversial, but I stand my ground. No doubt, it's way better than sex. I mean, it's natural. If you want to take a big dump, it's painful to keep it in there, and because you're scared of pooping your pants, and you don't want people to laugh at you and whatnot. So when you get that private time in the bathroom, or even if you're just in a cleaning cupboard or something, and you happen to have a nice bin bag, as long as it gets out, it's a good feeling, man. It's euphoric. It's a very very good relieving feeling. Aberdeen Angus steak, yeah, Aberdeen Angus steak's nice. Have you ever seen AKA Skins and Keith Thurman in the same room? But to be serious, is Guido Vianello the pound for pound Corey King? Oh, I don't know, man. I really don't know. Oh, I'm not reading that, Roy. I'm not reading that. All of these fad diets are not only a joke, but all diets are invented based on the idea that the Bible is false. The stupid paleo diet is supposed to be a caveman or natural man diet, but it's atheist trash. Yeah, that's for people who believe in Darwinian evolution, otherwise known as retards. Retarded people. KJ has a tiny Corey. He's intersex and has undeveloped genitals. Yeah, not only that, but the steroids make your balls shrink, don't they? They stop you producing testosterone naturally. It's rumored that Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis is almost done, and Taylor versus Tiafimo is almost done. I thought Taylor versus Catterall 2 was happening, but I guess not. Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Catterall versus Prograis is an interesting fight, though. I think Prograis beats him, and I think Catterall's a bit flattered by his performance against the weight drain Josh Taylor. Check out Peter McGrail. McGrail, he's got serious skills. He'll go very far. Is he a prospect? I'll check him out. Where's he from? I'll check him out. Can you recommend me 3 good films to watch? A few good ones you've seen recently. One film I saw very recently, and I've seen it many times over the years, but I watched it like last week. Have you ever seen the movie Harry Brown? I think I reviewed it on my channel a while back. It's a film starring Michael Caine. It's like a British, like really based R-rated film. Check that out. It's a really good film, really based. I also watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is a classic. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. And recently, I also watched a film called The Case for Christ. If you've never seen that, from 2017, great film. Really enjoyed it. Have you seen the Will Smith Ali film? Yeah, that was boring. Boring movie. Wasn't a big fan of it. It was just so boring. I love hearing Jack Johnson slander. Yeah, Jack Johnson was a bum. Complete rubbish. Complete hype job. He was the Mayweather of his time. Marciano wasn't just a tough guy. He had underrated skill set. Yeah. Um, Marciano, he had like the real good like head movement. He would get inside. He would throw punches from weird angles. He would shift. He would switch stances, and he would throw punches from either stance with equal power. Very underrated fighter, man, and incredibly durable, and a great athlete. I heard that Sylvester Stallone was angry with the Creed movies and regrets being a part of the movies. Well, I don't blame him, but he's only got himself to blame. I mean, he should have known that signing up to that cultural Marxist trash was not going to be a good idea. Did you watch the Lewis Neary fight? No, we were talking about this earlier. I missed that fight. Shout out to Bruce Goes. God bless you, man. Salute. God bless. Salute, bro. Prograis will demolish Catterall. Yeah, I think he'll beat him, but I think it'll probably go the distance because I think Catterall will flip in. He'll probably run and clinch and spoil. And I think Prograis will win, probably a wide decision. What is your favorite dessert? The last like good dessert I had was I went to Harvester recently, and I had a chocolate brownie with ice cream. So yeah, that's probably my favorite dessert. Chocolate brownie with ice cream. Apple pie is probably a close second, but I prefer chocolate brownie with ice cream. Seriously, once you've had a nice dinner, a chocolate brownie with ice cream just complements it beautifully. Liverpool, some good prospects coming from Liverpool now, yeah. No doubt inspired by the great Tony Bellew and Liam Smith. I bet a Creed 2 story would have been Creed getting beat by worse by Tony Bellew in a rematch due to fear, and then conquering that fear by going to Russia to train with the Dragos, even though Ivan killed Daddy, yeah, and then Drago beating the crap out of him and hanging up a noose and lynching him. I'm kidding. Yeah, because he didn't do nothing. Do you plan on leaving Glasgow? You've told me some rough stories about it. Will you move to Manchester, London, etc.? Or will you just leave the country? I'd like to retire and live like a king in Thailand. I've thought about moving back to Nottingham actually, because I've got connections down there. I've got friends and family, and also there's unfinished business down there too. But I'm kind of at the moment, I'm kind of settled where I am. Glasgow's my home. I get a bit homesick when I'm away from it too long, but I think one day I would like to leave the country and I'd like to move somewhere more remote. If I ever make my fortune, that's probably what I'll do. Yeah, Creed sucks, man. Creed got exposed by Bellew years ago. Who cares about him? Yeah, he got beat by Bellew at Goodison Park, and he got knocked out by Drago. But then he was gifted a disqualification victory. How did you score Pacquiao versus Mayweather? I didn't actually score it, but Pacquiao clearly won. If you watch the fight and just count the punches, in almost every round, Pacquiao landed more punches. Yeah, Rocky Marciano definitely fits in that category of badasses with Bronson and McLean. The Great Gamma is another one, unbeaten Indian wrestler with 2,000 wins, really? Interesting, I need to look him up. Sylvester Stallone wasn't in Creed 3. Sly was the heart of the Rocky film universe, yeah, and Creed is just an unlikable prick. There's a bit of an asshole, like, "Oh, my daddy, fucking abandoned me, and I grew up, and my family are rich, but I've got a sad face. Oh, look at me. I don't wanna be in my daddy's shadow." Like, shut up. I don't know, man. I've not seen that film in a long time, but the character just came across as an idiot, you know? A self-entitled, unlikable prick. That's what Creed came across as to me. He wasn't like the, light-hearted underdog that Rocky was, you know? They coulda just left it alone. As Eubank Jr.'s chin shot, he took some big bombs off Groves, Abraham, O'Sullivan, etc. Then 157 catchweight camp, and then jumping into a Smith camp, a near 6-month camp, and on weight. Yeah, he looked, very fragile. He also looked very thin and gaunt to me, like he didn't have much, um natural body fat on him, and I think that definitely affected his punch resistance. Because look, Liam Smith's a big puncher, but he's not as big a puncher as Abraham or Grove. So I think that Eubank Jr. is probably on his way out now. His punch resistance probably gone, unless he's able to get back in good shape and put on some body fat. You know, no doubt there was no KO clause in that Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight. Yeah, because Pacquiao wasn't even putting full power behind his punches, and he was still winning clearly. There were no cavemen before man because man was civilized since the creation. The only cavemen that existed were inbred cannibals. So the paleo was an inaccurate diet since it isn't cannibalism. Yeah, true. True. I mean, human beings clearly don't have the natural tools to be just hunters out in the woods, killing things with their claws and their teeth. No, human beings use their intelligence, hunter gatherers were able to form tools and use their hands to make spears and stuff like that because we were made in God's image. We were made with a certain amount of intelligence and an understanding of some kind of moral standard. We're not monkeys like these people want us to think. Like no human being is a monkey. We're a different species entirely. Did Bellew low blowed BJ Flores before the KO and get away with it? I don't remember. Been years since I watched that fight. I can't remember. I watched it years ago, and yeah, I can't remember that happening. Which referee do you think Haney will pick? If it's not Bayless, I'll be surprised. It'd be some Ameribum referee. Could be Bayless, could be Jack Reese. Whatever referee has a history of protecting Dindus and American-based fighters. Did you like seeing Usyk KO Bellew? Yeah, I very much did enjoy that, and I've watched it many times since and very much enjoyed it. People forget Ubom Jr. was dropped twice by Groves, but the ref didn't count the knockdowns because he was on the take. Yeah, the referee was allowing him to elbow and rush and flipping push his shoulder into Groves as well. And Groves' injury was caused by the roughhouse tactics of Eubank in that fight. And remember, the scores were very close, even though Eubank barely won a round. AJ got smashed up by a little fat man and never recovered. Yeah. Yeah, he's not the most mentally or physically tough, is he? Usyk versus Fury ever happen? Fury says Usyk doesn't deserve 50-50. Wilder 4 is rumoured. I'd rather see Joyce, Ruiz, AJ or Hrgovic, yeah. I very much doubt that Fury will ever fight Joyce. He'd probably fight Ruiz and he'd probably fight AJ because those are big money fights and relatively beatable guys. But Hrgovic, he's beatable, but he doesn't bring in any money at all. He's relatively unknown compared to the others. So I think Fury versus Usyk is very likely. Wilder 4, I don't think will happen because there's no demand whatsoever for that fight. So yeah, I think that most likely the Usyk fight will happen because where else is Fury going to go? Is he going to fight Joyce really for less money and a guy who could knock him out? No, Usyk's a winnable fight based on the size difference alone, and it's a bigger money fight. So yeah, it makes sense to me that that fight would happen, and I don't think Fury has any reason not to take it. You know, I swear Germany has many weak fighters now. Even in MMA, none are good. Yeah, Germany used to have good fighters, but they've been completely pussified. It's a country that has been completely destroyed by cultural Marxism to the point where even the likes of Felix Sturm and Bramer and guys like that, they come from a different generation before all that stuff. This isn't the Sven Oki days anymore. With Chad Sven Oki ruling the roost. This is the weak pussy days of the likes of Vincent Feigenboots and Tyron Zeuger. Where Germany's just full of weaklings. And it's a shame because they used to have a lot of great fighters. David Hay is a disgusting degenerate. Do you think he will have to pay a price to the Illuminati, like lose a family member as a sacrifice? I don't know. I don't know. I definitely agree that he's a disgusting degenerate, though. He's a complete weirdo. I don't think Fury's shook of Usyk. I think he'll take the fight. The Dindu referees are absolute trash. The piece of crap Tony Weeks deserves to get curb stomped for the Kovalev Ward rematch. Tony Weeks is a piece of shit. That guy is one of the biggest degenerates in the boxing establishment. And the fact that he still has a job as a referee shows how utterly incompetent and corrupt the sport is. It really does, man. Fury looked like trash versus Chiz. Yeah, but he was probably carrying him and taking it easy on him. Fury would demolish Ruiz. Yeah, I agree. Joyce fight would be good. I still favour Fury though. Yeah, I think Fury could win on points, but I think Joyce has a puncher's chance. And Joyce has got good stamina, he's very tough, and he will make it a close competitive fight, I think. Evolution seems like a mockery to me. And there's no way to scientifically experiment or verify the whole theory. Also has zealous followers. If a modern scientist calls out the BS behind it, they lose their papers. Yeah, any modern scientist who points out the absolute lies of evolution gets discredited immediately, and they never get taken seriously again, despite the fact there's literally no evidence for the existence of the theory of evolution. Fossil record doesn't suit it at all. There's no tangible, demonstrable way of observing that these transitions between different species ever happened. There's no way of us having the kind of resources to ever do an experiment of that kind. It's just all make believe. It's all based on pure theory and speculation and hypotheses. So it's really junk science. There's really no scientific method to it whatsoever. But it's generally accepted as fact because we live in a world ran by scumbag Freemasons who want to take us away from our true nature and turn us all away from God. It's not going to work on me. How easy the rematch going? Eubank is activating the rematch clause. It depends on the weight. If the rematch takes place at 160 or 168, Eubank has a good chance. But Liam Smith may have exposed that Eubank just can't make that weight anymore, and his punch resistance may be shot. But we'll see. I favour Smith slightly just because I think that the rematch will be on Smith's terms. But I'm not writing Eubank off, but I do favour Smith slightly. It'll probably be more competitive in the rematch though, because they know each other a bit more now. Wilder versus AJ, I'll go with AJ by knockout, but I give Wilder a puncher's chance. I think they will put AJ on some sort of PEDs as all Derek James fighters become KO artists as soon as they train with Derek James. Yeah, maybe Derek James just gives them some special magic potion that helps them punch harder. I don't know, man. Yeah, because true ethnic Germans are civilized and were persecuted so much. Ethnic Germans don't really fight these days. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. Yeah, mockery as in your ancestry were monkeys and fish. Yeah, yeah. You're the offspring a monkey fish frog, you know? Yeah, that's totally real. Then they magically turned into people. Yeah, sure. Germany has been completely cooked out and destroyed, but to be fair, we're not much better. Yeah, we're just one generation behind. Like soon the UK will be in the same state as Germany. It won't take us long, you know. Joyce absolutely batters Ruiz and stops him late. Complete mismatch, in my personal opinion. Ruiz is tough, but he's nowhere near as skilled as Joyce. Sven Otke, TBE. Yep, Chad Sven Otke, you know, the king of German boxing. TBE. Absolutely, man. I was thinking about Lewis King Kong Ortiz. What are your thoughts on him and the second Wilder fight? Well, the first fight, he dominated Wilder. Then he just took an obvious dive. The second fight, again, he was winning every round. Then all of a sudden, he got hit with a right hand and knocked him into next week, you know. So I think he was pulling his punches and I think he was compromised, you know. Do you think Fury has a hard on for AJ? Well, he said himself that he wishes he had his cock, you know, so maybe. Babbage sparred Fury and Joyce and said Fury should stay away from Joyce because it's a very dangerous fight without a big reward. Yeah, he's right about that. Joyce is a high risk, low reward fighter, you know. German guy who doesn't get mentioned much anymore is Henry Maske. Very underrated fighter. Yeah, Maske was a great fighter, great light heavyweight, and he beat Sven Otke in the amateurs. I used to have a recording of that fight, but I lost it. It was the amateur fight between those two, and yeah, Henry Maske, he schooled Sven Otke in the amateurs. And yeah, he was a good light heavyweight for several years, good light heavyweight champion. Only lost one fight to Virgil Hill by split decision, I believe, and he won the rematch like 10 years later. So yeah, he was an underrated fighter, a very good technical fighter on the back foot, you know. Do you have a partner and do you want kids? Yes and yes. I think the reason for Fury Usyk fight taking so long is because the money for Queensberry Fury dried up since Kinahan is in exile. Yeah, that could be why, you know, because Kinahan doesn't want to be throwing too many dollars around and making it too obvious, you know. What happened to Dudu Andrade? And last I heard, he looked like American Dindu crap in his last fight. Yeah, he looked terrible in his last fight, apparently. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. And he's looked quite poor for several years now. And he's still ducking Janibek, he's ducking Zach Parker, and he doesn't want any serious fights. He's just a cowardly, gives me that Dindu. You know, that's what he is. But Matchroom's still working with him. That's why AJ still gets big money in the Middle East. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Kinahan is a big player in British boxing still, no doubt about it. And he apparently has got his finger in a few pies in American boxing now. He's apparently working with Crawford and that BLK Prime or whatever they call it. Sven Otke versus Anthony Mundine is one of my favourite fights. Yeah, that's a great fight, man. I've got that fight on DVD. Great fight. Also, Darwinism is nonsense. Darwin was a Mason, and at the end of his life, he said his theory was rubbish, and there is a creator. Yeah, a lot of them do that. There was what was it? Do you remember Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan? Apparently, Anton LaVey on his deathbed admitted that he made a mistake, and that Jesus is Lord and Savior, or something like that. Like he admitted that his whole life he had made a massive mistake, and you know, it's kind of like he had a revelation and everything that he'd ever promoted was wrong. And he admitted it on his deathbed. Um, the philosopher, or the, what do you call, was he an alchemist or whatever? Cornelius Agrippa, same thing. He was an occultist for most of his life. But then at the end of his life, he said that, or he became a born again Christian. And he said that his work was wrong, and that you know, he'd found his faith and whatnot. So that's actually true. A lot of these occultists at the end of their life did find Jesus, but you don't see this in the media. They don't actually tell you this. It's something you got to figure out yourself, you know. Joyce versus Zhang. Two 6'6", 18-stone tanks going at it. It's like watching two silverback gorillas going at it. Both these guys are really big. Both of them are big punchers. Both of them have got great chins. But I think that I think that Joyce is the bigger puncher, and he's the much more skilled and much more athletic of the two. So he'll probably win dominant decision or a late stoppage. I think. So I'm picking Joyce in that fight. Do you think Smith was right and Eubank is gay? Well, he did grow up in Brighton, didn't he? And that's like the Batty man capital of the UK. So it wouldn't surprise me. But hopefully not. Hopefully he's a good heterosexual male. Because that would be the right way to be. So yeah, I'll pray for him. God bless him. If Eubank ditches Roy Jones and fights like he used to, volume punching and throwing uppercuts inside, he can win. Yeah, that stupid hands down, flashy flash Roy Jones style does not suit a fighter who's not like a supreme athlete, and doesn't have like amazing reflexes and hand speed. It didn't even suit Roy at the later stages of his career. Smith said he wants Eubank Jr. rematch at 157. I'm not sure how well that ends for Eubank Jr. If it's at 157, I favour Smith by knockout again, because Eubank can't make that weight comfortably, and his punch resistance will probably be even worse. I thought Nicky Holskin, the kickboxer who fought Callum Smith, will wreck Eubank Jr. He probably will now, Maybe not from before, but he probably will now, Have you all seen the size difference of Paul and Tommy Fury's heads? No, I've not seen that. I wonder. I heard Callum Smith will be fighting Beterbiev. I wonder how that plays out. Probably 12th round stoppage for Beterbiev after a long struggle to break Smith down. Yeah, Smith's got a big puncher's chance in that fight, but I think Beterbiev will most likely win it. Probably by late knockout. He'll probably break him down and stop him. Will Billy Joe return? Probably, because he'll probably run out of money. And he'll eat his money away, and he'll have to get back in shape and try and win some, Wilder versus Francis Ngannou. Who have you got? Ruiz fighting Hrgovic now. Wilder in a boxing match, but Francis Ngannou in an MMA fight, basically. And Ruiz against Hrgovic, I favour Hrgovic on points. I think he just outbox him from the outside and win on points. I want to see Joe Joyce annihilate Wilder. Wilder only wins if it's fake. Yeah, the only way Wilder can win against Joe Joyce is if one, he lands like the luckiest punch ever, or it's literally just a fixed fight, Tank and Ryan is the battle between two homosexual hype jobs. Yeah, that fight should happen in a gay bar, Imagine they could have James Charles as the referee. Too bad Maskey never fought Mikuchevsky when both were belt holders at 175. Yeah, that would have been a huge fight. Would have been a very big fight in the 90s, Thoughts on shout out to Johnny, by the way. Good to see you here, man. God bless you. Thoughts on DAZN price rise, $20 a month or 100 a year for one up front. $10 a month on a 12-month contract. Yeah, it's a bit steep. And let's not forget, they still flipping. They still do, what do you call it? they still charge for pay-per-views and all that rubbish. What's Papa Legba's Oh, that guy? No, he's just a troll, mate. I wouldn't worry about him. He just he's a satirical, like autistic troll account who just comes here to try and cause shit. I wouldn't even bother about him, Have you seen Big John and Joe Joyce's Chinese podcast? No, I've not seen. What is that? Is that to promote the Zili Zhang fight? Is that what that's all about? All right, I don't know. I've not. I'll need to Google that and find out. I believe that the fear of God forcefully enters the hearts of all these dirtbag atheists and Satanists when they're on their deathbed. Christopher Hitchens is one I can think of. Yeah, I agree with that because, like I said, Anton LaVey had a revelation before he died, as did Cornelius Agrippa. And these guys were, and like you say, Charles Darwin as well. Charles Darwin, another example. these guys who are involved with the occult, they know that the supernatural exists and they know that the spiritual world exists. So when they're finally in that position, when they're facing their own mortality and they realize what they've been taught is lies and misinformation, they are more susceptible to the power of God. And I think they realize that God is real and that they need Jesus and they need his mercy, you know? I think that's the situation there. Eubanks and heterosexual don't belong in the same sentence. Like I said, he grew up in Brighton, innit? I always laugh my arse off at the analysis for potential homosexuals in the boxing side of YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot of batty business, as Thingy says. You know, there's a lot of it. Holscomb would have destroyed Smith if kicks would have been allowed. Oh yeah, if it was a kickboxing match, then no doubt Holscomb wins. But in a boxing match, Smith had so much more experience. Plus, he was a lot younger and closer to his prime. You know, I think Liam Smith beats Eubank or gets robbed next time. Smith exposed Eubank's footwork like Groves did in a more impressive fashion. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, that's the thing. Like the problem is that Groves in the Smith fight, like he couldn't really pull the trigger because of his shoulder injury. So even though I think he was the more athletic and better skilled fighter of the two, he just couldn't really get his punches off to keep Callum Smith off him. And I think Callum Smith realized that. You know, where was I? Sorry. It would be unwise to write Callum off against Beterbiev because of his size, power, and accuracy. I favour Beterbiev though because of the Ryder fight. Way too easy to get inside on Callum. Yeah, I mean if John Ryder's getting inside and beating you up like that, imagine if that's Beterbiev, like in that same situation, landing those hooks and uppercuts. He's going to absolutely demolish him if he gets inside. But like you say, it'd be unwise to write him off because he could land a big straight shot from the outside, you know. I'd love to see Callum Smith breathe Dudu and break Dudu Andrade's neck with his powerful right hand, but Andrade will be taking a Dudu to accept that fight. Yeah. Andrade will never fight Callum Smith. Come on, man. Like he won't even fight Yanibek. Of course he's not going to fight Callum Smith. Eubank tattooed his hairline. Yeah, he did. He got like a spherage, like fucking micropigmentation tattooed hairline, you know. Darius was better in my opinion, but Maskey would be a top 5 fighter in any era of 175. I agree. Both great fighters, but I think Darius was the better athlete and slightly better technically. Tank Ryan should happen in a club icon. that's a That's the gay bar in Wisconsin, and Elton John, Freddie Mercury, and Rock Hudson are the 3 judges. I'll firebomb it mid-fight and do mankind a favor. Canelo sits when he pees. I like that. Worst chin, AJ or Khan? Probably Khan. But Khan had poor defense as well as a poor chin, which is why he was on the floor. So I bet the troll accounts on here have what are you saying? Where was I? Have many OnlyFans subscriptions or LonelyFans to be exact. Yeah, I can't understand why anybody would pay money to OnlyFans. I mean, look, I get, look, I don't watch porn, right? But I get if you're the type of person who watches porn and gets off to things like that, like you don't have to pay money for it. You know, there's a thing called Google, and there's actual free porn sites. You guys do realize that, don't you? Like I don't endorse pornography. I don't endorse looking with lust, but look, there's it'll cost you less money to get a good hooker than it will to subscribe to an OnlyFans account. I mean, come on, man. Seriously. Greetings. Good to see you here, Andreas. God bless. I know for a fact that the spiritual world exists. I was raised Catholic altar boy, all that. And later in life, I had a friend with benefits for 4 years who was knee deep in Satanism and the occult. Yeah, it definitely exists, man. And as long as you trust in Jesus to be your Lord and Savior, you shall be saved. Opinion on Bernie Gore? I don't know who Bernie Gore is. Interesting to learn that Caleb Plant won numerous titles in kickboxing. The man can fight. Yeah, he actually seems suited to a kickboxing style from what I've seen, you know? That stuff isn't to be played with, but kids are curious and get sucked into that, just like the gangbang. Yeah, because a lot of these like edgelord kids, they think that they're cool and edgy and flipping, you know, they think they're cool and they think they're standing up against authority when really they're doing exactly what the government wants them to do, and that's getting involved with flipping. I don't know, man. It's turning them away from God. That's all it is. That's all I can say about it. But if they knew the truth and if they properly heard and understood the gospel, that wouldn't be happening, you know. Beterbiev or Beevil? For the longest time, I favoured Beterbiev because I thought his physical strength, his power, and his persistence, his pressure fighting and his durability would get him the win. But he's getting a lot older now, and he's also, to me, in that yard fight, he's shown reflexes seem to be on the decline. And not only that, but I noticed too that Beevil seems to be a lot more patient. He seems to be a lot more of a sharpshooter. He's still got his faculties about him, and still got his reflexes. So I think Beevil would probably win now. And if the fight happens in like a year or two, Beevil will have improved even more and will still be close to his prime, I think. And Beterbiev will probably be shot. So yeah, I favour Beevil at this point in time. Okay, so we we got an argument here in the chat. We got L Dog and Johnny going at each other. Yeah, not on my channel, please. Keep that stuff to yourselves, guys. It's nothing to do with me. God bless you both. Women's boxing, how bad is it, and how can these commentators lie to us and tell us how good they are? Katie Taylor could not even win an area title as a man. It's like selling excrement as gold. Listen, you can line up every single woman boxer in the professional boxing world. I'll take them on one at a time and I'll beat every one of them. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You can even give them 6-ounce gloves and you can give me like 30-ounce gloves and I'll beat every one of them, because I'm that hard. I'll just batter all of them. No, but seriously, women's boxing is just cultural Marxism. It's like Precise was saying, it's basically just trying to normalize tearing down traditional gender roles, and I don't like it one bit. I'll never support it. Did Khan have a Papa John chin? Look, Khan's chin was weak, but the thing is, like, to me, the bigger problem with Khan wasn't even the chin. It was more or less it was the defense to me. Khan was constantly getting caught in between combinations. He would get caught with the lead hook. He'd get caught with the overhand right. And I think if his chin was as bad as it's generally believed to be, he wouldn't have gotten up as many times and recovered. But so I think it's more the defense. I'm not saying he had a great chin. He had a weak chin, but I don't think his chin was as bad as people think. I think it was his defense that was a lot worse than people think. I would love to see Andrade get mauled one of these days just to laugh at that crap stain true school sports. Can't stand that fickle piece of crap. Stupid takes on, but yeah, he's a fan of. I like true school sports to be fair, but he's a fan of Andrade, and I don't get it. I don't understand why that would be. Yeah, all sports are shady, but definitely pro boxing. Where do you rate Errol Spence in the welterweight division? Well, he has to be ranked number one now because he's got the belts. He's got the most momentum in terms of, high level opponents on his resume. So it has to be him as number one. As far as he might not be the better fighter than Crawford, but I think he has to be ranked number one just based on accomplishments. I've never been a big fan of UFC personally. I believe Beevil can retire unbeaten with one of the greatest boxing records and punch stats ever. That's if he doesn't take a dive against flipping Canelo. Boxing is mostly show business. Yeah, it is now. It certainly is now. David Benavidez versus Carl Froch. Prime for prime, probably Carl Froch on points, but I give Benavidez a puncher's chance. But obviously, if they fought now, if Froch came back, Benavidez would beat him. But prime for prime, I favour Froch. Probably on points in a close fight. Apologies, Nordic. Didn't know these trolls followed me over. God bless you, brother. Yeah, yeah. So good, man. So good. I don't even mind yous going at each other. Just I'll have nothing to do with it. You know, boxing has been shady till the very beginning of history. Yeah, yeah, definitely has. You know, it's a very corrupt sport. You know. See you later, Valley. Good. It was good to see you here, man. God bless you every time. Hope to see you here in the next one. Does Ebony Bridges give you a stiffy? Not even a little bit. If anything, my balls go up my arse when I see Ebony Bridges. You know, I'm flaccid throughout. Put it that way. I'm entirely flaccid. Ebony Bridges is 6'7" with fake tits and an OnlyFans, and these virgins online drool over the woman like she's woman Jesus. Yeah, she's very ugly. She's like a flipping heroin addict. That's what she looks like to me. You know. Guys, stop arguing. Be like the liberals and love each other. No, just kidding with that. Yeah, liberals love each other, but it's funny they'll throw petrol bombs at each other if they use the term free speech. You know, free speech is not allowed among liberals. True School and his father were always very respectful to me. I like them, but he has his opinions like everyone else. Yeah, I disagree with him a lot, but I respect the guy. He's always been fine with me. You know. Froch would get destroyed by Benavidez. I don't know about that, man. I think Froch has much better stamina, much better chin, and he might have been able to win that. But it's a competitive fight, man. Yeah, God bless you too, man. What do you a good shout out to Del Boy, man, Blue Collar Sports. God bless you, bro. What do you make of the stoppage? Felt Davison threw the towel in early. Can't end a world title fight like that. Personally, I disagree. I thought it was a good stoppage because from what I saw, I get there was only 10 seconds left, but when you're the trainer and when your guy's got no legs under him and he's on the verge of going down, you know, you as the trainer know your fighter better than anybody else. And I think Leigh Wood has never been the most durable guy. He's never had the best chin, and he's been knocked out before. Let's not forget he was stopped by Gavin McDonnell. So I think that Ben Davison weighed up the risk, and I think he realized, look, this isn't Michael Conlan, who's not that big a puncher. You know, this isn't Gavin McDonnell. This is a guy who is a finisher. This is a guy who is pound for pound one of the biggest punchers in the sport. And you know, it's only going to take one more clean shot. And he had a lot of energy left too. So I think that Ben Davison probably did the right thing. But I can see the argument. I can see the argument that maybe if Wood was able to get back to the corner, he might have been able to recover. But I don't know, man. I think it was a fair decision. I personally do. Hagler versus Hearns or Pac versus Marquez, which is a better fight? Well, Hagler versus Hearns is like a more of a rock'em sock'em robots type of brawl, but Pac versus Marquez 4 was like high IQ war between two great skilled fighters, you know. So that's probably a better fight. You have a good voice to give a Bible reading marathon. Maybe I'll do that one day. Maybe I'll read the Bible to you guys on stream. That'd be fun. Fun for me anyway. Stoppage was a joke. Yeah, a lot of people don't seem to like the stoppage, but me personally, I had no problem with it because I don't think that Leigh Wood would have come back and won the fight. I think he would have got taken out in the very next round or even in the last 10 seconds of that round, you know? Yeah, Froch was overrated, but Benavidez hasn't really shown himself to be an elite fighter either yet, has he? Fruit for thought. Ebony Bridges sell because she knows how to fight or because she's naked everywhere she breathes? Exactly. Now get back in the kitchen. Yeah, get back in the kitchen and make me a sandwich, bitch. That's what I'd say to Ebony Bridges if I interviewed her, you know. So it's probably best I never do that. Benavidez Plant a 50-50 fight. I favour Benavidez slightly, but it's a very good fight. Yeah, shout out to Del Boy, man. UFC is garbage, and in more ways, more corrupt than boxing since you only get one dirtbag running the show. They have a really strict drug testing, and yet they allow John Jones and other dindus to roid. Yeah, I've never been into UFC for whatever reason. I just can't get into it, man. I've tried, but it just bores me. Bores me when they end up on the ground. I thought they should have let him get to the corner, then take a look at him. Wasn't the worst stoppage I ever seen. Though. Yeah, look, I can see the argument. I can see the argument that there was only seconds left, and if he was able to make it back to the corner, he might have been able to recover. But let's not forget, all through the fight, Leigh Wood was exerting himself. He was having to work very, very hard to keep his hands up and to keep Lara on the outside with his long range boxing. And while this was happening, Lara wasn't really losing heart. He wasn't wasting a lot of energy. And even when Lara was missing punches, he was computing how Leigh Wood was reacting to them. So Lara kind of set up that knockout by baiting Leigh Wood into trading hooks with him. And he just got there first. And I just think that by that point in the fight, he had so much more left in the tank, and Leigh Wood he just didn't have the durability. He would have gotten taken out, I think, personally. But I can see the argument. Given Warrington was done round 4 versus Lara, first fight, and Lara couldn't get him out, I believe Wood would have survived the round. Maybe, but Warrington's a lot more durable than Wood. He's got a much better chin than Wood. Wood was knocked out by Gavin McDonald, so he's not that durable. And Michael Conlan put him down, and Conlan doesn't punch anywhere near as hard as Mauricio Lara. Alicia Bumgardner is not attractive. People standards have taken a shit. She looks like Boxing Ego's lazy eyeball. Yeah, she's horrible, man. I can't stand women's boxing. Can't stand it. And I'm not going to pretend like I do. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a fan of it. I thought the stoppage was decent, but the crooked British ref was clearly going to kill time, saying, "Show me your hands and do a little dance." Until the round ended, Davison wasted that home advantage. Yeah, that's something that Davison could have maybe he jumped in a bit too quickly. Maybe he could have just seen if Wood could have recovered his legs. But I don't, knowing what I know about Leigh Wood, I don't think there's much of a chance that would have happened. Leigh Wood doesn't have a great chin. He's got good stamina, but the problem is he was wasting energy in that fight because the things he was landing were just so ineffective, and Lara was so much tougher and so much more durable. Are there any paedophile pro boxers you know about? Well, apparently, what's his name? Carlos Baldemir was apparently convicted for child sexual offences. So yeah, he's apparently one. I struggle to think of any others though. Baumgartner looks like a pit bull that 78 just beat the shit out of. Yeah. Yeah, that's one way to put it. She had to show loyalty to him so he could throw her like a scrap of meat. I'd still like to see Wood versus Warrington next. Maybe Lara can fight Lopez in a unification. Then the winners fight each other. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. I think Lara versus Lopez would be a big like all Mexican battle, wouldn't it? And even without a title on the line, or without a world title on the line, Wood versus Warrington is still a stadium fight. That's still a massive fight. Two guys with big fan bases. They could have it at the City Ground in Nottingham, or they could have it in Leeds. And that would be a big stadium fight, a big domestic clash for the UK. And I would watch it. I'd probably go to it. It'd be fun. Yeah, a lot of people like UFC, but I could just never get into it. I wouldn't eat her sandwich if I was you. Yeah, me neither. Ebony Bridges is a haggard old tramp. Yeah, yeah. She looks like a flipping like 40-year-old hooker, like heroin addict. That's what she looks like to me, man. She looks just horrible. I only like MMA when one or both fighters use a kickboxing or karate like style. Yeah, when it's all that Khabib stuff, I just find it boring, man. Yep, amen, bro. UFC promotes their fights very well, but 8 out of 10 times the big fights are trash, and it turns into a ass grabbing match on the floor. Where's that Ponce Adam Smith? Yeah, where is Adam Smith? Where is Adam Smith of Sky Sports? I don't know, man. Leigh Wood lost because of his goofy hairstyle. Cut that clown wig off. Yeah, he looks like a broccoli, doesn't he? And Lara almost sent that broccoli into the stands. Oh, that's crazy, man. Oh, Lopez is fighting Conlon next. Interesting fight. I actually favour Conlon in that fight. I think he can outbox Lopez. I think he can win it. I can agree with you saying with Wood's durability, I guess that's what Davison must have been thinking. Yeah, because he knows his fighter, and he knows that there's probably a limit to how much of a benefit of the doubt he could give him. You know. Shout out to Joker. God bless you, bro. Shout out to the featherweights. Most of them seem to be real fighters. Yeah, that's what real fights look like. See these Josh Warrington, Leigh Wood, Mauricio Lara, Bernardo Lopez, Magsayo fights. These are real fights. When you see these guys in the ring, there's just pure will to win, pure drive. Everybody's coming to fight. Everybody's coming to win, and you know you're getting a real fight. You know, and it's just it's glorious to watch with all we've been seeing recently. You know. Thoughts on how injuries affect the careers of fighters, especially Negroes? Well, if you've got like knee injuries and shit, then you're screwed, aren't you? Because it just always comes back. It never goes away. Same with flipping. What do you call it? With elbow injuries, like shoulder injuries. If you end up with flipping surgery, you know it's something that's always going to come back to bite you in the ass at some point. You know. RIP to Kell Brooks, 8 ball of blood. Are Dillian and Dean a couple? I don't know, man. No idea. I hope not. That Batty Man stuff isn't accepted in Jamaica, especially not with those Dindus, you know, whites. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Salute Joker. The only fighters that suck worse than the UK fighters are the African fighters. Do you know what's the funny thing about African fighters? They're either really, really shit or really, really good. Like you get these unknown African guys with like undefeated records that come over, and sometimes they surprise you. Sometimes they knock the British guys out cold in spectacular fashion. Other times they get hit and they just quit immediately. And they're like they've never been hit by a real fighter before. It's so weird. Like it's always all or nothing with these African fighters. It's never just decent level. It's always either complete garbage or like extremely dangerous punchers that can get you out there with one shot, you know? Dave Hilton Jr., former WBC 68-pound belt holder, was convicted for sexually abusing his daughters. Oh, that's disgusting, man. Yeah, it was a similar situation with Baldemir, wasn't it? Yeah, Carlos Baldemir. The featherweights, flyweights, superfly 140 and 175 are the ones keeping boxing alive. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Throw in Glenn McCrory also. Yeah, yeah, Glenn McCrory was an underrated. I actually have a video that I've been planning to make about him. Well, not about him, but featuring him, because I'm gonna do like a retrospective on Sky Sports commentary and how they sort of manipulate people's opinions, you know. And he was one of the good commentators, one of the ones that was a lot less biased, you know. Oh, where was I? Sorry, I'm things lagging right there. Here we are. What do you think about Carl Frampton? Good fighter, bit of an overachiever in my opinion. He wasn't the best technically, but he was a tough guy and a very good athlete. But I didn't rate him as highly as some people did. I always thought Scott Quigg was better, you know. Not the women haggling for money at lightweight and welterweight. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, forget that. Those divisions are just complete write-offs, you know? I like to see Kazakh fighters in boxing. Well, yeah, you got Triple G, you got, what's his name? Yanibek, so you got a few good Kazakhs, you know? Been some decent Kazakhs over the years. That guy, Zakianov, was pretty good, you know? Some same with Argentinian and Colombian fighters. Some have really good records but end up shit, but some are diamonds in the rough. Yeah, kinda like, what do you call that Ponce guy that took out Lewis Ritson, and same for Colombians. It's like guys like Bradis Prescott come to mind, relatively unknown, but you know they've got a decent knockout percentage, and they come over and they just destroy the guys over here. You know, it's all or nothing. That's what it seems like to me. You know. Whatever happened to the Khan versus Brook rematch, I thought Khan wanted it. I think Khan did want it initially, but he was probably advised not to take it. And then I think both guys announced their retirement. Yep, down with the gay mafia. How about that disgusting reprobate Orlando Cruz? I was happy to see his downfall after he came out the closet. Yeah, yeah, and he got absolutely battered by Terry Flanagan, if memory serves me right. Yeah, he stopped him in the eighth round, I think. Difference with these fighters and Western fighters is that Western fighters get specialized camps while South American, African guys just train and wait for the fight date 2 weeks out. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because a lot of them get brought in at short notice, and sometimes that can actually help because they don't go in there messing about and fancy danning around the ring. They just go in there, let their hands go, and see what happens. And sometimes that can work because you can catch a guy without really thinking about his reputation and take him out. You know, that was certainly the case with Prescott and Khan. You know, Prescott just went in there, wasn't intimidated by the crowd or the reputation at all. Worked his jab, threw some big shots, and got the knockout. Sometimes it works. You know, John Fury too big, too strong for Carl Frampton. Yeah, yeah. Funny thing is, Carl Frampton could probably still knock out John Fury. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. It genuinely wouldn't. Orlando Cruz was a disgrace to Puerto Rico boxing and men. Yeah, yeah. That guy's a complete degenerate. You know. I remember Kevin Mitchell gave Prescott a boxing lesson, one of his best performances. Do you know what? That was probably that and the John Murray fight were great performances by Mitchell. Like Mitchell had some really, really good boxing skills, and he had like great hand speed. He was a big puncher, good balance. He had a good chin too in his prime. Like Kevin Mitchell was a guy who I think if he'd have stayed on track and taken the sport seriously, he could have definitely been a world champion and maybe could have been one of Britain's best pound for pound fighters. So it's a real shame that he never took the sport seriously. You know, I think he was an alcoholic and he was into drugs and whatnot. So that kind of ruined his career. Base Terry Flanagan moment. Yeah. Orlando Cruz is Ryan Garcia's uncle. Oh man. Yeah. What was that club you mentioned before? Like that they should be fighting in? A lot of pro fighters take camps that are too long. Yeah, sometimes they end up leaving it all in the gym, you know. I rate Prescott for using the nickname the Conqueror after he splattered Khan. Yeah, yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite boxing nicknames. That and the Mexicutioner, which was one of Pacquiao's nicknames. That was incredible, man. The Mexicutioner stopped more Mexicans than Border Patrol. What do you think was Calzaghe's best performance? I think his best performance was the Kessler fight. I know that Jeff Lacey was a more dominant performance, but Kessler was a much better fighter, and I think Kessler was a guy who was at his prime. Calzaghe was past his prime physically; he was getting old a bit, and that was a guy who was genuinely there to box and fight when he needed to, and he had a lot of physical advantages. You know, he was the bigger puncher, he was taller, he was stronger, and you know he was a very difficult guy to fight at that stage of his career. And the way that Joe figured him out on the fly and outboxed him, I think that was his best performance. Like Calzaghe's on his long range boxing in that fight was absolutely fantastic. I think. So I think the Kessler fight was his best performance against one of his best opponents. Mitchell at his best beats Khan. I agree. I always thought Mitchell could beat Khan. I think he knocks him out. I think he beats him in more one-sided fashion than he did John Murray and Prescott. And I think Prescott would have beaten Khan in a rematch also, which is why Khan never wanted it. Look at Prescott versus Paul McCloskey and compare that to Khan versus Paul McCloskey. You tell me who was a better fighter, you know? Yeah, your opinion on Ryan Garcia and Golden Boy promotion, you liked Campbell dropping him, yeah. The thing is, Luke Campbell kind of gave up after that, and I personally think that he took a dive. I don't know for certain, but I think he did. And I think he was probably paid off because he had the perfect opportunity to get the stoppage, and yeah, he just didn't go for it. Yeah, yeah, they both hang out at Club Icon. Mitchell still has a pretty good resume, yeah. I mean, he almost beat Linares. You know, that's a fight people forget about, but he dropped Linares and was completely schooling him. And he lost that fight on a cut, which was initially the cut was caused by a head clash, and it just got worse and worse. And he ended up with a whole bunch of swelling on his face. And I think that basically caused him to get stopped, you know. But I think he would have won that fight if not for that head clash, you know. I lost all my respect for Miguel Cotto for showing his support for that filthy animal, Orlando Cruz. He embarrassed Puerto Ricans with that crap. Proof that sodomites can't fight. They lose manly. Oh yeah, look, if you take it up the ass and you know you like giving blowjobs, you can't fight. I don't care what anybody says, and you don't deserve any respect. And Miguel Cotto showed himself to be a complete conformist scumbag with that situation. You know, wearing his pink shorts and acting like an idiot. Beevil assumed the mantle of Mexicutioner. Yeah, he's the new Mexicutioner. Yeah. Beevil will never lose to a Mexican. Not legitimately, at least. Yeah, maybe he'll take a dive against Canelo, but that wouldn't prove anything anyway, because Canelo looks more Irish, you know? Kessler was underrated, definitely. Gave onion rings some good scraps, yeah. Yeah, Kessler was a good fighter in his prime. He could probably still make a comeback. I think he's still in good shape. He can still punch and whatnot. Sugar Shane Mosley whooped a lot of Mexicans as well. I was happy when he mauled that punk Margarito. Yeah, yeah. But Mosley was just stylistically all wrong for Margarito. Too fast, too powerful. Stood in the pocket, throwing hard, quick combinations. You know, very good fighter in his prime. The Canelitas are still angry with me because I told them Beevil would dominate their girl, and I was right to this day. Yeah, yeah, you were right about that, man. God bless you. One of the best performances versus a Mexican was Kessler versus Andrade. Oh yeah, Kessler dominated Andrade. Yeah, he absolutely battered him. Andrade was a bit of a prospect too. Like he beat Robert Stieglitz, and you know he was a tough guy. Almost beat Lucien Bute. You know he was a good solid contender, but his prime was kind of short lived. And Kessler, yeah, he gave him a beating. He completely schooled him. What do you think about Arturo Gatti? His death suspicious? I saw a documentary about that years ago, and I know a lot of people think his wife had something to do with it, but I don't know, man. I've not seen enough evidence. Maybe he was just depressed. Maybe he had CTE. I don't know, man. I don't know enough about the situation to have an informed opinion of it. So, yeah, I'm really not sure about it. Cotto himself is extremely suspect. Yeah, Cotto is a complete weirdo. He is. Cotto's again. He's one of these guys. He walks around with his pink shorts, and he just dresses so effeminate and weird, and something really off about that guy. I'm not a big fan of Cotto personally. Good fighter, but a bit of a weirdo. Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer could fight because he didn't receive it. Yeah, yeah. Well, Jeffrey Dahmer was a cherry picker. You know, he only picked on Dindu sodomites, didn't he? So he didn't really pick anybody who could fight, did he? FYI, Mitchell is one of the guys Crawford could have fought but never did. Yeah, that would have been a good fight. Crawford probably would have been too big and too durable, but it would have been a good fight, like prime for prime. Never knew Kessler was half English. Yeah, he is. Kessler's mum, I think, is English. I think his dad's Danish, and I think his mum's English. I remember on the build up to the was it the Froch fight, and people. I remember somebody got accused of being a traitor for supporting Kessler, and then Kessler was because Froch was saying you should be supporting me because I'm a Brit. And then Kessler was like, "Well, I'm half English," and you're and like Groves was saying that Froch was Polish or something. I found that pretty funny, yeah. But yeah, Kessler, his mum's English apparently. Mi- I already read that. Sorry. Dream fight picked from the middleweight or super middleweights of all time. Well, I'd have loved to have seen Sven Otke versus Calzaghe or Roy Jones. I would have loved to have seen them, obviously. But from the middleweight division, I'd love to have seen Triple G versus Pirog. I say that's a dream fight. That would be a great fight. Wearing his pink shorts and acting like an idiot. Yeah, yeah. I'm not a fan of Cotto. The guy's a complete creep, you know. Yeah, Triple G versus Calzaghe. I'd go with Calzaghe, but Triple G would have a good chance. You know, that's a great fight. Crawford should never been at lightweight. Yeah, he was massive for lightweight. I don't know how he made weight, man. Must have absolutely drained himself to make weight. Miguel Cotto started fighting like a girl in his later fights. He should have been able to destroy Mayweather and Trout, but fought like a total beach. Yeah, yeah, man. Cotto, I think he was influenced by Mayweather. I think after fighting Mayweather, some of that bitch um, tendencies of Mayweather kind of rubbed off on him. You know. I don't think Cotto was suspect, just stupid. Tito Trinidad was the real McCoy. Oh yeah, Tito Trinidad was a badass, and he had one of the best left hooks in boxing history. You know, if he could land that left hook, he was so difficult to beat. He was similar to Lara in that sense, to Mauricio Lara. You know, what do you think a modern day Maurice Marciano at cruiserweight would be like? I think Marciano would be very dangerous at cruiserweight. He's way too small for heavyweight, like modern day heavyweight, but at cruiserweight I give him a good chance of being champion because he had great stamina, physically strong, great chin, huge heart, and underrated skills. So I give him a very good chance personally. Tex Cobb had some heart. The guy's face must have been made from adamantium, yeah. Cotto isn't suspect. He's actually gay. T Street used to talk about this all the time when Cotto was active. There's pictures of his BF with him in hotel rooms. Well, if that's true, then that's absolutely disgusting, as far as I'm concerned. I feel like Gordon Ramsay, like, wow, disgusting. You know when he like tastes something in some like Mingin restaurant, and then he's like, wow, what is that? Wow, disgusting. That's me like learning the truth about Cotto as you tell it, you know, or learning that information about Cotto, you know. Adrian Broner's another idiot that performed sodomite acts in the ring. I hope he comes out of retirement to get mauled. Total bum ass speech. Do you know what I wanted to see a couple years back? Is I wanted to see Broner fight Josh Taylor. Could you imagine that? That would have been funny a couple years ago. It would have been like an absolute domination. Like he would have schooled him. Like Taylor would have battered him from pillar to post. You know. I'd pay good money to watch a prime Trinidad take Spence's head off. Oh yeah, Trinidad at his prime would knock Spence out. No doubt about it. Prime Mike Tyson versus Beyonce Wilder. I go with Tyson by early knockout. He'd get inside, he'd break him down and knock him out. Marciano and other notable heavyweights of the 50s could make light heavyweight today. Yeah, yeah. Marciano at light heavyweight, hard to beat, man. He could probably dominate at light heavyweight, you know. Eubank Senior is an absolute fruit these days. Well, they did live in Brighton, didn't they? I wonder why, eh? I wonder why. Let's hope there's nothing suspicious there. Tex Cobb is from Texas, right? If so, he's my favorite Texan, second to Chuck Norris. Yeah, yeah. Chuck Norris is a badass man. I like Chuck Norris. You know, Chuck Norris just flipping. He doesn't even need to punch you. his beard will just punch you, you know? You know, when Chuck Norris goes out in the rain, he doesn't get wet. The water gets Chuck Norris. Subriel Matias, the killer versus Broner. Yeah, yeah, put Broner in with Subriel Matias. That'd be quite interesting. We'll see if Broner can like run and spoil his way through it and lose on points. Marciano versus Beterbiev, fight of the century. Oh man, could you imagine that? Like imagine that fight, Marciano versus Beterbiev. That's a guaranteed early knockout either way. Did anyone here see William Knight's performance last night? No, I didn't see. I'm liking these jokes, by the way. Some people think I'm not paying attention. I am. Don't worry. Only an idiot would believe everything T Street says. That fool is like LDBC. Like, do you know? I've not actually watched T Street in years. I remember going into the Pacquiao versus Bradley fight, or the Pacquiao versus Marquez rematch. I used to watch T Street, but I've not watched him in a long time. You know. Larry Holmes said Tex Cobb was the strongest guy he fought. All that whilst drinking beers and smoking cigars. Imagine if he actually trained properly. Yeah, if he actually took the sport seriously. Same with guys like Kevin Mitchell and Andy Ruiz. You know, if guys like them had stayed in shape, and you could say the same about Fury and you know, other guys like Josh Taylor and whatnot. If they took the sport seriously, they could be elite fighters. You know. Chuck Norris uses dead rattlesnakes as condoms. Yeah. Maidana, you like him as a fighter person? Yeah, Maidana's a really entertaining fighter. You know, big puncher, tough guy. He was in a lot of really entertaining fights. I was a fan of Maidana for years. How good would a PED'd up Jack Johnson be today? He'd probably be shit, except he'd be more durable and stronger. You know, Jack Johnson couldn't fight. He was rubbish. At least by world-class standards of today. Canelo's whole career seems fraudulent when you consider that he weighed the same in the ring against Amir Khan as Marciano did for most of his fights. Yeah. I know, it's crazy, man. Chuck Norris built a time machine to stop the JFK assassination. He blocked the bullets with his beard, and JFK's head exploded out of sheer amazement. Oh, that's a good one, Johnny. That's a good one. I've not heard that one. Oh, it's funny. Oh, that is funny. Cheese Street showed the pictures of Cotter with his BF. This isn't a conspiracy theory, or did he know? Interesting, interesting. When Chuck Norris does push-ups, he doesn't push himself up. He pushes the earth down. Oh, that's good, man. Ted Scott would have whooped that fool Larry. If he took the sport seriously, he was harder than Big George Foreman as a man. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Jack Johnson was the original Great Black Hope. Sonny Liston died young, 38, yeah. Some people think he was even older. He got dropped by a 5'7" middleweight in Stanley Ketchel. Enough said, yeah. And I think that was a fixed fight too. Like the vast majority of Jack Johnson's fights. Most of Jack Johnson's fights were fixed. And when they weren't, he just leaned and spoiled the whole fight, you know. We need to make a time machine so we can have Tex Cobb go back in time and beat that stupid Dindu Jack Johnson all over the city. Yeah, Tex Cobb would probably knock Jack Johnson out in the first round, you know. He probably would, prime for prime. Two-Tongue Galante was the best drinker who boxed. I don't know, Shane McPhilbin and Ricky Hatton could probably give him a run for their money, you know. Each like on the video is another blow struck against Tony Blair bomber Cabal. Yeah, everybody hit the likes to strike a blow against the Illuminati and the Masons and whoever else is against us, you know. Pound that like button. like Del Boy pounds the fatties, you know. Each like yeah. Jack Johnson ducked Luis Ortiz back in the day. Yeah, yeah. Luis Ortiz was John L. Sullivan's sparring partner. You know, he taught him how to box. Dempsey ducked Prime Joe Louis, Prime Luis Ortiz too. Yeah, yeah. You know, the movie King Kong in the 30s was actually inspired by Ortiz. That's where they got the name for it. You know, Shane McPhilbin should have won against Maka. Yeah, yeah. That was shocking. That fight, like the Shane McPhilbin dropped Macronelli in the first round, and there was like 47 seconds to go, and then Frank Warren rung the bell, or someone rung the bell. Like the bell rang early, and yeah, Shane McPhilbin never got time to get him out of there, and Macronelli was able to recover and win. I remember that fight. I actually know Shane McPhilbin. I've met him. Like my friend used to train with him. Like he's well known in Nottingham. Like the same friend I was on about earlier, who was actually at the fight last night, the Leigh Wood fight. I don't know why I never went, to be honest. I really should have. I just had been too busy with work and stuff. But I'm thinking of taking time off next time there's a big fight in Nottingham and going down and going, you know, because it's been years since I've been to a fight, you know. Luis Ortiz taught Johnson's trainer. Jack Johnson makes Beyond Gay Wilder look like a legend, yeah. Wilder would literally knock Jack Johnson out in like the first minute of the first round. I'm not even exaggerating, he would. Flipping Jack Johnson. Worst fight you've ever seen? Any fight involving Lawrence Okolie. No, seriously, the worst fight I've ever seen, probably Malik Scott versus Luis Ortiz. If you guys have never seen that. One fight I tried to watch and I just turned it off was that fight between Johnny Nelson and Carlos De Leon. If you've ever watched that, that was terrible, man. The Guillermo Rigondeaux versus what's his name? Guillermo Rigondeaux versus Casimiro, John Ro Casimiro, another terrible fight. Those are just some off the top of my head, boring fights, you know. Go to watch Taylor make Teofimo cry if you're going to go, brother. Yeah, I'll probably go to that fight if it's in Scotland. They said Scotland is probably where they'll fight. Yeah, yeah. Well, if it's in Scotland, I will probably go to it. Probably. Would Hatton have lost if he was serious about boxing and didn't fall prey to his demons? Or is his chin just too weak? I don't think he would have ever beat Pacquiao. Maybe he could have beaten Floyd, but yeah, I don't think he'd have beaten Pacquiao. And I think he'd have probably beaten Senchenko, but Pacquiao was just too much for him, you know? So yeah. And against a prime Costa Zub, I think he would have lost, probably by knockout, you know? Chuck Norris's tears cure cancer. It's a pity that he never cried, ever. Yeah, man. But it take a lot to make Chuck Norris cry, you know? Dude's a badass, you know? Real tough guy. I don't know why I watched this fight, but I watched Lewis Van Poch, how do you pronounce his name? Versus Carwin. I think Carwin Herbert. I know him. Carwin Herbert from Wales. I know him. He used to live in Nottingham. I sparred with him. Why do you know him? That's funny, man. Small world. But yeah, I know that guy. But yeah, ginger guy, isn't he? From ginger guy from he's about 5'8" or something. And yeah, he's a pro boxer from Wales who used to live in Nottingham. He used to train at the same gym as me. I sparred with him one time years ago, back in like 2013 or something, or 2012. No, 2011. I sparred with him, and we only did like 1 or 2 rounds. But yeah, I know that guy. I know who you're on about. Yeah, he's kind of a low level pro. I think, was it light middleweight or welterweight he used to fight? I can't remember. But yeah, I know that guy. I know Carwin Herbert. that's funny. That was that fight. See that fight you're on about? Whereabouts was that? Was it in Wales? Because I know he had some fights in Wales. I know, because that's where he's originally from. But he lived in Nottingham for years, and that was where he started boxing, I think. Tony Bellew is David Price's gay lover. Yeah, tell your gay lover Tony Bellew, I'm gonna get him. You know, I'm gonna do him as well. I think the worst fight I've seen was Hughie Fury versus Samuel Peter. He was fighting like a beach in that fight and took the easy way out. Yeah, yeah. Samuel Peter flipping ended up nearly getting his arm broken. You know, that was a horrible fight. That was on the undercard of, was it what'd you call it? Khan versus Billy Dib, I think in Saudi Arabia, I think it was. He couldn't beat Mayweather because it was fixed. He would have won in a real fight. Yeah, and with a referee who was actually officiating the fight properly, he would have, yeah, he would have won that fight, probably even by late stoppage. If it was in the UK, he would have won that fight, no doubt. Chuck Norris speaks Braille. Kid Galahad KO'd. How do you rate him, Nordic? Chuck Norris is able to do people using a cordless phone. Small world. Yeah. Do you know? Do you know? Funny story, Leigh. I'm not going to say this on here, but I have an interesting history with that guy, and I'll send you something funny. I'm not going to post it here. I'll send you it privately. It's a funny story. Chuck Norris actually once broke Mike Tyson's nose in sparring, and Mike Tyson apologized to him for it. Yeah. Just looked it up on BoxRec. It took place in Newark, Nottinghamshire. All right, yeah. So the fight was in Nottingham. Yeah, because that's where he trained. He trained at. I'll tell you what the gym was. He trained in. It was Jav Boxing Academy. The coach is a guy named Jawed Khalik. He used to train me. He's former IBO welterweight champion from the 2000s. He was actually, interestingly enough, he was set to fight Sergio Martinez at one point, but the fight never materialized. And he was also in negotiations to fight Vernon Forrest. You remember him? So yeah, he was a decent fighter. It was a Pakistani guy, fighter from Nottingham. Yeah, he was the coach, and he trained Carwin Herbert. That was, well, I don't know if he was in his corner, but I know that he trained him. Like, he trained him in the gym and whatnot. He's actually, Carwin still trains with my friend Ryan, my best mate from school, who I was talking about earlier. They still train together. Chuck Norris once played Russian roulette with a fully loaded gun and won. Yeah. When Graham Bell interviewed the plane, he received a call from Chuck Norris. Oh, I love the Chuck Norris things, man. Like, because they're always so unexpected, aren't they? Because they sound serious, and then you hear them, and it's just cracks me up, man. Don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a bit of a storm outside here. Pure loud winds. All right, last one. Chuck Norris uses pepper spray to season his meat. Yeah, he needs to give it a kick, doesn't he? He'll have built up an immunity to everything else. Do you guys think there are any secret transformers in women's boxing? Bellator MMA had openly had a couple fighting that. Yeah, disgusting, man. There was a young girl, wasn't there, who got crippled from one of them gender bending trannies. Oh man, it's disgusting. But yeah, there are probably some they don't announce. Like, I don't think Ronda Rousey or anyone like that's a man, like Holly Holm. But I think that some of the lower level ones probably slip through the cracks. You know, wouldn't surprise me at all, man. But yeah, man, I'm getting tired, and yeah, I think I'll call it a day. But yeah, I've enjoyed talking to you guys. I've been going over 2.5 hours. It's been fun. Yeah, thanks for joining me on this, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. God bless you. Might stream next week. We'll see. And I'm hoping within the next week, I'm hoping to get a boxing video done. One of my what do you call it? My what do you call it? My retrospectives. I'm trying to get one of them done this week, but we'll see. God bless you guys. Good night. God bless.